Hello out there in internet land. This is the P&J F1 chat. I'm your episode 25. I'm your host, Phil Lamington. And sitting beside me, if I can ever get these words out, sitting beside me on my left is a man who considered appealing against Mercedes, appealing against Max Verstappen winning the championship. JB, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. Happy holidays, everybody. One last Christmas treat for you all, courtesy of us,
It's like chlamydia. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
without the burning sensation.
And seated to my right is our amigo. He was going to appeal against JB, appealing against Mercedes, appealing against Max Verstappen, until he realised how ridiculous all this shit is. Longhorn, how are you, my friend?
I'm fantastic. I am great.
I was going to appeal against your appeal, against JB's appeal, against Mercedes' appeal.
Just a pillception.
It's just,
And that JB was going to appeal my appeal against your appeal, against his appeal.
and then Leonardo DiCaprio is going to walk past and he's just going to be like,
He's
like,
going to
yeah.
appeal your appeal against my appeal.
oh, man.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yes, Merry Xbox. So this is our end of season wrap up. It's the last episode we're doing in 2021 of possibly, I don't even have to say possibly. It was the best season of F1 we have had in a very long time. We've said it about 5 gazillion times.
Because we're not lying to you.
No, unlike other YouTube channels, Aldous, we're not going to lie to you. We're a lot like Rick Astley. Never going to give you up. Never going to let you down. Never going to turn around and desert you.
Well, you might desert us, but that's okay.
That's your call.
Never going to appeal race outcomes. But
Unless Mercedes appeals it.
I'm really glad that didn't go through, by the way. Just
Thank
give
God.
the man his
Yep.
goddamn trophy and get on with it.
Yep.
Well, we'll get to that in a second. We're going to open this episode, this end of season wrap up, with some news items that have occurred since Abu Dhabi. The first one being that Audi has sent a letter to the FIA stating that they want to be an engine supplier in Formula One in 2026. With them openly congratulating outgoing FIA President Jean Todt, and this is according to race fans, so credit to race fans here. They congratulated Jean Todt on what it regarded was a fair conclusion to this year's Formula One championship. They referred specifically to the final lap on which Max Verstappen passed Lewis Hamilton to clinch the title, following a controversial restart, which Mercedes considered appealing against for 4 days before backing down. Clearly, this was Audi having a genuine crack at Mercedes.
Well, you know, these two have been at each other's throats in DTM for years.
And Formula E.
Exactly. It's Germany versus Germany. I mean, if you can't beat them, join them.
But I am actually looking forward to seeing Audi as an engine supplier in Formula One.
Yeah, I
Well,
am too.
We know they can make good long-distance engines and good hybrid engines. For the Le Mans series, obviously they run on diesel fuel, so they'll have to tweak a few things. And obviously they're getting rid of the heat unit, the MGUH, on the current turbo models,
Yeah.
which will make it cheaper. I think it's
But it will also have increased
electrical,
electrical
Power.
horsepower, yeah.
which isn't a bad thing.
No,
I mean,
it's more beneficial for us in the long run.
it's cheaper, and you know, Audi coming on board, like we said when this was first breaking months ago. Audi coming on board, that gets the eyes of everyone else on them. You know, Toyota, you know, Porsche, whoever else wants to jump in. You know, if they can see Audi making a successful transition into Formula One, you know, what's to stop them? What's to say they can't as well?
I want to see them jump onto the grid, though, not just be engine suppliers.
Yeah,
You know, I
actually
want to
be
see
a
the grid
factory
extended.
team.
Yes. Yeah, I want to see the grid extended, even if it's to 22, 24 cars.
Yeah,
probably
we've had 24 car grids before. It was a while ago.
Oh, we've had even bigger grids than that. But
Yeah.
I reckon 24 is probably like a sweet spot.
I think 24 is as far as they can actually go. Like, I think they're only allowed 12 teams because
That's all right, but
after that they have to do, like in the 80s and the 90s, they had to do pre-qualifying for the
Yeah.
lesser teams.
Where you got eliminated
Yeah.
from,
and
and
we'd
you-
never
you-
see a Haas on the grid ever again. That end.
Dimitri Mazepin starts paying off the FIA, get them on the grid.
Stop the get the stopwatches stopped a second earlier. No, I mean 24s and having 4-engine suppliers go around 20 cars or 10 teams seems a bit much already. So I'd like to see like maybe a maximum of 2 teams getting an engine supply.
Yep.
You know, if you could get it to that point.
Not half the grid being Mercedes and
Yeah, you don't want
yeah.
eight Mercedes powered cars and 8 Honda powered cars and
yeah.
You'd rather have maybe four, you know.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, it seems a bit much. I mean, for all the engine testing you get with 8 cars worth of data, you know, yeah, I'd like to see a little bit more exclusivity, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I think this will open the door, though. Other engine manufacturers will now sit there and go, well, if Audi's getting into it, we want a piece of that pie.
That's what we want to see.
That's what we want. We want more factory teams.
We want big names in. I want Toyota back.
Toyota, BMW.
Yeah. Yeah,
I wouldn't mind if Honda about-faced and said, hey, you know what, we'll come back again.
yeah.
Because they do that all the time anyway.
Why not? I mean, how many engine suppliers are there in Le Mans or DTM, Dutch Touring Masters? Like, they got heaps.
Yeah.
Formula 1 should have the same. It'd be good.
Exactly.
And I'm just happy that it's Audi that are coming back.
Yeah.
So the next breaking story, well, it broke last week. The new FIA president, Mohammed Ben Sulayem, that sounds like a metal name. Ben Sulayem.
Ben Salem.
He's going to start singing Angel of Death or something.
No wonder there's so many like Middle Eastern races now. Even the FIA president's Middle Eastern.
Well, he used to be a WRC driver, I think.
He's got experience in motorsport
Yeah.
at least. It wasn't just handed off to
I seen a
to someone. I honestly thought it was going to be Ross Brawn, to be honest. But
I seen a picture of him the other day or something testing a Formula 1 car and crashing it.
good
I
man.
didn't see the video. It was like one of them clickbait things, but it was just a couple of stills of. It was like, click here to see footage of new FIA president Mohammed bin Saleh crashing in the wall testing a Formula 1
being
car.
an
Yeah.
F1 car.
Yeah, it was just like a couple of stills and yeah.
That's your rite of passage to become FIA president. You have to drive a car. I'd like to see John Todd try and drive a car now.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Poor bloke could break in half.
I'm amazed someone didn't sit there and say, why don't we get Valentino Rossi?
Nah.
Yeah.
Nah, he's going to be a dad.
Yeah.
He's
But Mohammed Ben Sulayem was not impressed that Lewis Hamilton boycotted. Lewis Hamilton and Toto Wolff both boycotted the FIA end of year gala.
yeah, that's salty.
Yeah, I like it. I like him coming out and saying that too. To be honest.
It wasn't just that. He fined Lewis Hamilton, I think, €1 million.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, he's not fucking about.
Good.
Yeah,
Don't fuck
good.
about.
Good.
You can't be salty because, you know, it was a little bit controversial.
Yeah, turn up. Like,
Yeah, Jesus Christ, be a sportsman. You can't be that salty. Like I said to Fox Motorsport, it's like you've won 6 of the last 8 championships.
Yeah.
And you're acting like a little salty bitch about it because you lost one.
and everyone turned up to his.
Everyone, we were forced to endure all of yours.
Yeah, sure, it wasn't controversial like this last one, but you won 6 in a row. Like,
Yeah.
everyone could have just gone, oh, I'm bored. Like,
Yeah.
why do I need to go watch Lewis Hamilton, and not go? But everyone
Pretty sure
went
Max
because
Verstappen's
that's what
been
you
at
do.
every single one of yours, or
Yeah.
most of the ones he's been since 2017.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it seems really salty, and I'm glad that someone is sitting there going, you know what, Lewis, you're not above the sport. You're disrespectful, and you need to grow up.
It's good to show, like, Mercedes, you're not above the sport.
That's right.
Not just Lewis Hamilton, but Mercedes, because, Toto Wolff didn't go either. And it's like, you've had your way for so many years.
Yeah.
And it's like, something doesn't go your way like boo-hoo, so sad, and this is how you react to it after having everything your way for so long.
Well,
That to me annoys me. Like,
the last race, the last lap in the last race, when Toto got on the blower to Michael Massey and was like, "No, Mikey, no, it is not right." The fact that you're calling him Mikey shows that you think that you're just best mates with him and you can sit there and dictate to him whatever you feel like.
yep.
You tried to dictate to him earlier in that race too to not make it a full safety car and keep it under virtual safety car.
All year they were doing it.
That's why Ross Brawn has now brought in a rule that it is going to be one way. It's Michael Massey talking to the teams. They are not allowed to talk back.
And that's good. We were talking about that
Yeah.
last podcast,
That's-
how we thought that
That's
should
what
happen.
we wanted it
Yeah.
to be.
Ross Brawn said that was just absolutely disrespectful and it's garbage. He's like, you've embarrassed the sport. It's not happening anymore. It's one-way traffic. It's them telling you what's going on. No deals, no bargains, no bullshit. You get told what the ruling is. You can either abide by it or you get disqualified.
And that's how it should be. And that's why I'm glad in this case, again, it was no bullshit. Like, you didn't show up. That's not acceptable.
Yeah.
You know, here's your fine, and we're going to voice our opinion on it not being acceptable.
Yeah.
You know?
You are not above the sport you
Yeah.
represent.
Yeah.
And it kind of, for me, it makes Lewis Hamilton look really stupid after all this Black Lives Matter and all the stuff that he's been promoting.
Yeah, the whole end racism campaign was his doing. The gesture at the start of the race was his suggestion. Formula One's had his back on a lot of it, all of it. And he can't even show up to an end of year gala because he's salty. That he got robbed, in air quotes.
What even frustrated me more was, you know, after Abu Dhabi and Mercedes were like, we're going to appeal. I was quite pleased with Hamilton as the way he handled it at the track. He come and congratulated Max. I thought that was top notch of Lewis. It come out that he apparently told Mercedes to drop the appeal. And in my head, I'm really impressed with Lewis Hamilton. He was winning points to me in terms of being a top-tier sportsman, which he's meant to be. And even though it didn't go his way and he was devastated, and
You can
he
understand it.
Yes, right. Well, I could completely understand his dismay and upsetness, but he looked like he was being bigger than that by being the proper sportsman. But he does all that and then doesn't do the easy part, which is just to rock up to a gala.
You don't have to be happy. Look at
Yeah.
Kimi Räikkönen and just get drunk.
Just sit at your table,
Get drunk.
have it. It's like an end of year Christmas party. It's
Yeah.
like,
You don't have to pay a cent for it.
Yeah.
It is your work Christmas party.
Yeah.
legit.
It's free alcohol and free food, I'm sure, and it's a hell of a lot more bigger bar tab than what we get at our work Christmas parties, but
Like, if you're not going to rock up to the gala, why shake Max's hand after the race? Why not be salty then? Like, I just feel like you did all
why
the right
drop-
things and then you make yourself look stupid by not going to the gala and look
Or
salty.
Why
Like,
drop the appeal?
Yeah.
Why sit there and portray yourself as such a hero and you're a role model and everything, and then just throw your toys out of the pram because you can't have your own way?
exactly. Brody's exactly right. Like, he got out of the car. You know, he sat in his car for ages because he was devastated.
completely understandable.
Understandable. I watched Lando Norris do the same thing after Sochi and almost cried. And then he gets out of the car, he walks over, he shakes Max's hand, has the post-race press interview, you know, before he goes on the podium, holds himself together brilliantly, you know,
Showed that he
Hold-
was bigger than the decision.
holds
He
his
was
head
a
high.
sportsman. Yeah.
walks off. I think he was even up on the podium with Max.
Yep.
You know, sprayed champagne, didn't walk off, whatever. Even Max walked off the podium in Jeddah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, Lewis didn't. Lewis was up there spraying champagne. He showed that he had the class
He
to
showed
be,
integrity.
to be bigger than it.
To-
And then days after it, it's like, oh, I'm not going to the gala. In fact, I'm thinking of boycotting next season.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
You know.
he's talking about boycotting the
I'm like-
2022 season.
And Brody's always like, you did the hard part. Like, you showed the world that you're bigger than this. And then all you have to do is keep your mouth shut until the appeal either goes through or doesn't go through. Turn up to the gala. You don't have to speak.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything.
You just have to drink.
You're not getting a trophy. You might have to go up there to get your 100 podium thing, whatever. But you don't have to say much, you know. Just Just show up.
Just had to be present.
Just be fake happy for like 3 hours. And if you can't be fake happy for 3 hours, just get drunk.
Yeah.
Well,
Just
on,
drink the bubbly.
on the I think it was the Fox Motorsports Facebook page. They were talking about the whole rivalry and everything going on, and everyone was attacking each other because you've got the Lewis Hamilton fans, you've got the Max Verstappen fans. And I put up a comment going, guys, we've just seen one of the greatest F1 seasons in a long time. Like, this season felt like it was very similar to 1976.
Yeah, it pretty much was.
Hunt and Lauder. And it wasn't decided early on. It went down to the wire. I had some idiot sit there and reply to me going, oh, well, Lauder was walking away with it until his accident. And I replied with, yes, I have seen Rush. It's a great movie.
It is brilliant. But
This was very reminiscent of it. It was very it was reminiscent not so much of 89, but it was reminiscent of 1990 when Prost was in the Ferrari.
yeah,
You know, and I mean, I understand Prost for being bitter because Senna crashed into him or whatever that happened.
and that was a fucking possibility going into Abu Dhabi. If that was... If,
Michael Massey made the right call by saying if you do that, you're going to be disqualified.
Yep.
yeah. And he's done it. I think he took the... Didn't he take the championship off Schumacher? Well, not him personally, but someone...
Yeah,
when he hit Villeneuve?
Yeah, he was disqualified from the championship in
Yeah.
97.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because
it's...
he did the same thing in 95.
Yeah, he hit Hill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he took out Hill, won the title, and yeah, but
It's not a good move.
It's not what we want to see. We want to see
No,
winning it
That
on
was
the
a
track.
possibility. Imagine if that was the way that the championship ended.
here's the
But
thing.
it wasn't.
The thing is, by the rules, I think it was 48.12, Article 48.12. They have to let all the lapped cars unlap themselves, which means if they'd done that, the race would have finished behind a safety car.
That would have
No
been deflating
one
as
wanted
well.
to see that.
Yeah, no.
But the only person that Lewis Hamilton has to blame for Lewis Hamilton losing the championship this year, it's not Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton did everything. He even asked the right questions of his team.
It did.
It was either Bono or Toto who sat there and went, no, we're going to keep you out on the hard tyres because we think it's going to end under a safety car.
Yeah, who was ever the person that was arrogant enough to believe that they could convince to finish under a safety car and that they were not going to try their best to get it back to finish in track conditions,
Hmm.
that's who lost them it. Because, as you said, Hamilton even brought it up. He brought up the whole tyre saga, and they said, oh, we don't want to lose track position. They had pace all day. They could have easily changed their tyres, and Red Bull probably would have gone, oh, well, we'll take track position. And then it would have been the complete opposite. Hamilton would have been overtaking Verstappen on fresher tyres.
If they had both pitted,
Or both pitted, and they still would have had the,
It would
they
have
the
would
been
have
pace.
come,
first
they would have
and
come
soft.
back.
And Lewis probably would have held him off, to
Yeah,
be honest.
Yeah.
But to anyone bitching about the whole lapped cars incident getting Max up behind him, listen to Lewis's radio when the safety car comes out. He's like, it's a safety car. And then they're going around, and then he's like, Max is going to be right behind me, isn't he? And
Yeah.
Bono's like, yeah, he will be.
Yeah.
And Lewis, like, accepts it. He's like, all right, we should have stopped, maybe. He's like, it's too late now. And then half the things go past, and that's what kicks up the shitstorm. But
Yeah, I think they got unlucky
Lewis
when
knew what was coming.
when the safety car first came out. I think they'd just gone past the pit, so they couldn't take advantage the first time round.
Yeah.
And
But
so-
Lewis knew Max was going to be on his ass. So
That's
anyone
right.
thinking that Lewis wasn't ready for what was coming,
Yeah.
he knew.
100%.
He knew the second the safety car came out.
Yep.
So
They
Yeah.
took a punt on hoping that it would finish under the safety
Exactly,
car,
and-
and let's keep track position.
and
Because
to
we think it
Lewis's
will finish
credit,
on
he
that.
fucking drove his ass off on that last lap
100%.
on tyres that were 33 laps old. That he probably had fucking snowflakes chance in hell of keeping Max behind him. But he for half a lap, he fucking did his best. You know, and I don't think he can... There's no shame in losing it that way as much as it hurts.
No, Lewis Hamilton drove like a complete champion, as
And
he
acted
always
like
does.
a complete champion.
That's right, and that's why I don't understand this avoiding the gala, because I
Yeah.
go, you drove like a champion, you deserved to win it, but so did Max. Like, you can make the complete 50-50 case of who deserved to win it. You both deserved it. It went Max's way.
Yeah.
You've won 7. So it's kind of like, oh, get over it a little bit. You've won 7. You know, it's not going for
I'm
your
wondering
first.
if it was
and
Lewis or
Max's-
if it was Toto getting in his ear.
I think it was Toto.
I think it was Toto getting in his ear because he seemed fine with it. Like,
Yeah.
he seemed like he was accepting it at the end of the race.
Yeah. He
I
did.
could
He did.
understand if it was the other way around, where
Yeah.
Hamilton's losing his shit after the race,
Which he could have done.
but then calms down and mellows out. But this seems like the other way, and it makes less sense.
And what
Yeah.
really annoys me about Toto Wolff is that he was pissed off about how, you know, they lost the driver's title and everything. They still won the constructors.
Yeah.
And then 3 hours later, they've got footage of him getting pissed and crowd surfing at a
Yeah.
nightclub afterwards.
He
It's like, well,
shit-faced it
you
and
you can't be that fucking angry about it if you're doing that.
Yeah, like how angry are you, man? Like you.
And then you
Yeah.
boycott the gala.
Yeah, don't avoid the gala after you see him doing that. Like I didn't. When I seen that, I was just like, "Oh, good on them. They're human. It's been a long year. Like enjoy it. Like it doesn't mean that they're not upset about it just because they're enjoying that. But the fact that you then avoid the gala, like what you've done, as we spoke earlier, like you did the hard yards, especially Lewis Hamilton. You took it like a champ. You showed your integrity, and thanked, like said, well done, Max. You told Mercedes to drop the appeal.
He sent his text message to Max too.
Toto sent a text message to Max. Like, you
Yeah.
all showed, like, as much as it didn't go your way and you had every right to be completely upset, you took it like, you were starting to take it like champs. And then once you'd done the hard yards where the feelings were rawer and it should have been easier to just go to a gala, that's when you decided to throw your, like, toys out the cot. It's just bizarre to me. Like,
So I'm going to move on from this because we'll be here all night if we keep talking about this subject. But speaking of throwing your toys out of the cot, something that I heard yesterday on the radio, and I was utterly appalled by this. Lewis Hamilton fans online sending death threats to Nicholas Latifi for crashing out at Abu Dhabi and causing the safety car.
Yeah, this fucking
Nick,
sucks.
Look,
not cool.
Lewis Hamilton fans, to me, are starting to come across as the lowest form of scum and villainy in the world. Your driver lost. You know, it happened to every other team for X amount of years. I mean, 2008, like, Ferrari fans were upset because Felipe Massa missed out on the championship and Lewis Hamilton got his first title. But we didn't send death threats to Lewis Hamilton or Timo Glock or anything like that.
A lot of them blamed Glock for handing it to him.
They didn't have a botched tyre strategy, isn't that?
He
happened
went around in the rain in the last lap and it was wet. I actually finally got to see an onboard video of that, and no, it was legit.
Yeah.
Like, he just had wheel spin everywhere, but you can't. This is like Barcelona fans going into meltdown that Lionel Messi left.
Yeah.
And you sort of understand why.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
well, you can't win the Spanish league like 900 times in a row.
Yeah, all good
and
things
then
come
you
to an
lose
end.
one, and you're going to boycott the sport, and the sponsors need to be, the head of the board needs to be sacked, and
Like,
the coach
what?
needs to go. You need to put a broom through the fucking thing.
Like if you want that,
it's like playing video games on easy,
like
and then like playing online and getting shot in the head.
But
and then
it's like State of Origin. Like, Queensland won X amount of series of State of Origin in a row.
yeah.
And then some of our players retired, we lost, and all of a sudden it's off with their heads.
Yeah,
They're
it's like,
all
put a
shit.
broom through them. Fuck it.
they only won like 8. Or was
Yeah.
it?
11.
11. Was it
No,
8 in a row?
It was 8.
Yeah.
8 in a row?
Yeah.
But, I mean, you're sending Nicholas Latifi death threats.
That's,
I mean,
so
that's so
ridiculous.
Good one. He
pathetic.
intentionally crashed the fucking car.
Mm.
They're pathetic. They're utterly pathetic.
People who can't.
And you look online, and all Lewis Hamilton fanboys, oh, we got cheated. Lewis got cheated. Fucking and fucking get
So
on
who
with
you
it.
are you trying to blame? Like, who are they trying to blame? Is it Massey, or is it Latifi, or is it who are you trying to blame
you know-
here?
you know who they-
Because
who they-
they were trying to blame Massey,
Yeah,
and then that sort of failed. The appeal fell through, so now they turn their attention to,
Nicholas
Nicholas
Latifi.
Latifi crashed. It's your fault.
If you want to blame someone, blame Bono. Blame Toto Wolff.
Like, the dude literally has to turn his phone off for 3 days because it's blowing up. Because fanboys all over Britain are blaming like some conspiracy bullshit.
And it's just
Nicholas Latifi driving for Williams, who's powered by Mercedes, has a fucking conspiracy against the Mercedes main team
like
and crashes out.
They have Mercedes on their shirts. Williams.
They're powered by Mercedes.
Yeah, yeah.
Why would they fucking... Well, they got a conspiracy against their engine supplier.
because Alex Albon is going to Williams next year.
You're telling me that if Williams was holding up Lewis Hamilton, like Toto wouldn't get on to Williams somehow, and something through the network
Oh, I
would
mean,
happen,
look
and
what
all of a sudden he would
Look
just
what
go
happened
past
in
easy.
Imola. Look what happened in Imola. Bottas and George Russell crashed. Because Bottas thought, I'm in a Mercedes, I can squeeze him, put George Russell onto the grass, and he lickety splits into Bottas and they're both out.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Bottas is sitting there going, I don't understand what his problem is. Oh, you squeezed him, you dumb fuck.
That's another case of Mercedes thinking they're bigger than everyone else.
Yeah.
That's Mercedes' entire problem is pure arrogance. The last time we saw pure arrogance of this level was Red Bull in 2014 when we went from the V8s to the V6s and they thought they were going to be king shit. And they got a Renault power unit that
Was a dog box.
it was just a shit box.
And a car that Sebastian Vettel couldn't drive.
Yeah. He
Yeah,
was outdriven by Daniel Ricciardo.
he was.
Mm.
But, yeah, no. Anyway, back to the main point here.
But yeah,
Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton fans need to, like, get over it.
Oh, it shows more about these people's lives, the fact that they feel it's okay to get online and bash someone like this. Like, it's pathetic, and it shows more about them than it does the incident, if that makes
and
sense.
you
Like,
see it all the time online with all these Lewis Hamilton fans. Lewis was robbed, blah, 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 blah. And if the minute someone sits there and says something like, that was a great championship, sure, it was a bit controversial, but either driver deserved to win, they're lambasted for being Max Verstappen supporters and how can you support a cheat? And
Yeah, I got asked by an Irish guy if I was drunk.
It's like,
And we're like, that's the greatest, like, last lap battle I've ever seen. And he's like, are you drunk?
yeah, it's-
Yes, but...
I mean, the best thing about sport is competition, right? Like, everyone's got a team, right? You want to see them win every year, right? But you can't tell me, if you watch your team win for 100 years in a row, you wouldn't get slightly bored. Like, even if it was your team, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, but, like, I love seeing my team win, but I also love seeing my team work towards earn it. I don't want to see him just piss it in every year in any sport, because what makes it great is the competition. Like, not that they just win. If you want to see Mercedes win all the time, go create Formula Mercedes
Yeah.
and just have Mercedes cars drive around, and you can wank off to watching Mercedes cars win every time because all it is Mercedes. But
you can do that in Formula 1 2021. By the way.
Yeah, if you want to see if you want to see Mercedes Lewis Hamilton win all the time, choose Lewis Hamilton in driver career.
yeah,
Put it on easy, and you'll win by like 8 laps. You know,
Unless you go online and go against JB Power Sports, then you're going to get done by JB
you're
and
gonna
Ed
get
Senna.
done by JB and my boy,
gonna get dusted.
my boy Etten.
It doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. He's winning.
By the way, the Parramatta fan sitting here in the corner thinking these teams been working towards it for 35 years, Brody.
That's what keeps you going. That's what keeps you
that's the
going.
hope that kills you.
Yeah, it does kill you,
It's been
but
killing me for 36 years.
you do want to see some reward at the end eventually, of course. But
You support Parramatta, so it's not going to happen.
the clocks are tick-a-tocking.
yeah,
It's all right. I'm a Broncos supporter. I'm fucked.
Yeah, your glory day retired with Darren Lockyer.
We're doing better than the Cowgirls.
yeah,
Oof, barely.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, true.
Our glory retired with Jonathan Thurston too.
Yeah. But it was the same for me with Michael Schumacher. Like he was my guy. But by 2004, I'm sitting there going, yeah, this is starting to get really redundant.
Yeah, like, I'll tell you something. I go for Manchester City in the English Premier League, right?
Boo, get out.
I know.
You're walking.
Right?
I'm a Tottenham supporter, so...
Obviously, they got the financial backing in the team to be competitive every single year, right? And they
That Saudi blood money's good for something, huh?
they obliterate they obliterate
Who's the main
teams, right?
who's the main sponsor of
Oh,
Liverpool?
I shouldn't have brought this up. Yeah,
Standard Chartered. That's the American company that we're sponsored by.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
No,
Yep.
they're sponsored
Moving
by.
on.
They're sponsored by Etihad.
American blood money.
Yeah, no, we've got.
From the Middle East.
Yeah, we just nuke. They just nuke unknown like countries, and we benefit.
Well, I remember, I think it might have been 2012, we were in the FA Cup against Wigan Athletic, who are now like League One, so 3 tiers
Yeah,
below Premier
nobodies.
League, right? But they were Premier League at the time, low-level Premier League team. I remember watching that final, and obviously I wanted Man City to win, but about 60 or 70 minutes in, Wigan put up such a good fight as this underdog team that I actually found myself wanting Wigan to beat us, because I was like, you know, we're a powerhouse. We're going to be up here again. You know, Wigan might never be up there ever again. This is their moment. And it was actually nice to see Wigan win. Like, even I was a Man City supporter. I was like, I'm happy for Wigan to win because
Yeah.
that was competition. It's like Leicester winning. Everyone loves that
How
story.
good
Leicester
was that?
City
That-
winning.
That
Like,
was amazing.
everyone loves that story. That's what makes sport great. What makes sport boring is like, that's why La Liga will never be the best league in the world, because you've only got 2 teams in it that win it every year. Like,
Well, the one and only premiership I'll ever cheer for City was when Aguero sunk United
oh,
in
so
like the
good.
94th minute.
Still gives me goosebumps.
And because we're all sick of seeing United win
Right,
shit.
that's right.
You were, for the one and only year, the underdogs. And never again.
Not going for us
No
this year?
more.
No.
No, we're chasing you down.
Yeah, yeah.
You
We're
had,
chasing
you
you
had
down.
your shot. Now it's over.
Yeah.
That's it. We'll chase you down.
Tottenham and West Ham for life.
And you know what? Fair enough. Like, I've enjoyed some good moments as a City fan. I'll be happy to win, but I'm happy. My main thing is I want to see competition. So I'm happy to see other teams win it, if at my expense, for the sake of competition.
Yes.
I think everyone needs to look at that as a sport. If you're a sport fan, no matter what sport you're in, you're going to love your team, support your team, but at the end of the day, you need to... Competition overrides everything. That's
Exactly.
like
That's
what makes the
that's
sport
rugby,
great.
That's like rugby league fans. We've been waiting for Melbourne and Sydney to fall for so fucking long, and now they finally have. The Storm are like finally getting gutted, you know, as a team. You know, as much as I didn't want Penrith to beat Parramatta, they did, and they won the premiership, and good
Yep.
on them. But I
Yep.
mean, it was a Penrith Rabbitohs grand final, and you know, I think it was the first grand final in God knows how long that it wasn't the Roosters or the Storm in a grand final.
Yep.
Like for the first
Yep.
time in like something stupid, like 14 years.
Yeah. Yep.
Like that it wasn't either the Storm or the Roosters in a grand final. And for the sake of competition, for the sake of reinvigorating a sport, any sport,
Yep.
you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
100%.
And I think Formula One now,
Needs the same.
I think it's getting there.
Yes, I think it's
I think
heading towards that
naturally
way.
getting there. I think
Yep.
Red Bull and Mercedes weren't that far apart, team for team.
Like Formula One's probably the one sport that's had the most dynasties. So if you look over the last, say, 20 years, what's there been 3 constructors that have won it?
It was Red Bull, then it was
Ferrari,
Mercedes,
Red
and
Bull,
now it's
Mercedes.
Red Bull again.
That's it. That's what I-
Ferrari, Renault,
Oh, yep. Renault had a
McLaren,
couple years. Yeah,
Brawn,
McLaren.
Red Bull, Mercedes. So six different manufacturers.
And depending on which way you
In
look at it
20
this
years.
year.
But how many
yeah.
of those 20 years were dominated by some of those manufacturers in a
I mean,
row? Like
there was
4 or 5
five-
year time blocks of just...
There
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
what 8 Mercedes, 4 Red Bull, 1 Brawn, 1 McLaren, and 6 years where it was Ferrari and 2 with Renault.
Yeah.
And like in my opinion, it puts a dampener on the sport when you see Mercedes win 6 in a row. Like I said, you lose those on the fence fans because they go, well, this is boring.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't attract the neutral, you know what I mean? And if you want to be successful in the sport, you've got to attract some of the neutral over to your sport. And you're not going to do that with Mercedes winning every single year like they were for so long. Like, you attract it with the neutral over by seeing good
Max
competition
Max
or
Verstappen
anyone
balls
can
to the
win it.
walls thing.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, in any sport you're going to get someone that's going to dominate for a certain period of time, but you don't want to see that for too long, you know, because that takes away from the sport, in my
And
opinion.
it kind of comes back to the decision to bring the safety car in before the last lap in the last race. If the championship had been decided behind a safety car, everyone would have gone, ugh.
Yeah, it would have been the most disappointing end to a season.
Whereas I've seen live reactions, like a reaction video from Sydney for the last lap, and it's an entire pub full of people that just blew up as soon as Verstappen overtook Hamilton. Just blew up. And I know it's for the benefit of the show, in commas, but besides the Lewis Hamilton fans, everyone else on the planet who is not a pole-smoking fashion victim, aka a Lewis Hamilton supporter, blew up and was just like, oh my God, this is so fucking amazing. Which is then going to make people want to tune in next year to watch next year's championship. And that's what puts bums on seats and beers in glasses. Oh, pardon me. Fucking KFC. It makes people show up at the live events to buy tickets to go to the races, to see qualifying, see the practices, see the sprint races, see the actual GP.
Yep.
And if people buy tickets to go to these races, it'll sustain actually having the races.
Yeah. Well, that's what these regs, next year's regs are.
Yeah.
The cost cap, the aerodynamics is going to make the cars easier to follow.
And
it won't be as easy to drive initially, but...
And then later on with dialing the engine specs down by getting rid of the MGUH and bringing more engine manufacturers in.
Which is going to be more parity. It's going to be more competition.
Yep.
It's going to be more random, you know.
Yeah.
Who knows? Audi comes in and suddenly they have the best engine, and whoever they decide to buy as their drivers, suddenly we've got Audi Formula One winning championships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, who's to say that Mercedes will even be dominant next year? Could be Red Bull.
And
You
hopefully
could
they're
have
not.
McLaren and Ferrari up there. You have Haas.
Yeah, that's what you want to see. You want to see teams like Haas have you don't want to see them have shocking seasons like they have, right, this year. But if they have that, you want to see them the next year come out and have something to show for it.
Well, that was like Ferrari last year. They had an absolute shocker because of... Oh, sorry, you just reminded me of something. Mercedes can't whinge about anything because if I remember correctly, Mercedes were whinging about Ferrari's engine in 2019.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the FIA pulled apart the Ferrari power unit and ran all manner of tests on it. And the FIA knew something was wrong with it, but couldn't
Work it out.
find it. But Ferrari had paid their penance in 2020 by running an engine that honestly was just a mouse in a wheel.
Yes, it was quite dismal.
And as a Ferrari fan, it was disheartening. It was much like a McLaren fan when they had Honda when Honda returned in 5 years ago.
When
or
we had
whatever.
Alonso and Button, that was a dark fucking period.
And it really makes you sit there and go, oh, this is just, it's so sad.
It was because
It's
our only
the same,
highlight.
It's the same with Williams right now. I want Haas up the front. I want Williams up the
I
front.
want Williams competing for championships again.
Yeah.
I
They've
think Haas
got the
will be.
second most championships out of all the constructors.
They do.
And yet this year we're talking about them like, wouldn't it be amazing if they get points? It's like,
Yeah, they're
I
lucky
want to
to-
be talking about Williams fighting for a podium.
That was me 6 years ago talking about McLaren.
Yeah.
It's like, here's this mighty fucking team that's coming 14th. And
I want every team on the day to be able to fight for a podium. That's what I want to see. Okay, you might not get that because there's a lot of different factors that go into it. But what I don't want to see is... in Formula One, what I want to get better is you seem to have the A class, which was this year was Mercedes, Red Bull. Then you have the B class. It's like a few races in, we're already conceding that there's only two teams that can win it. Because we already see the parity difference. In a few races, you're like, okay, well, it's going to be Red Bull and Mercedes. It's going to be McLaren and Ferrari after that. And then the rest are going to suck or whatever.
Yeah,
I want like a few races in to be like, God, this could be anyone's.
Yeah, like...
Or maybe one team like Haas sucks again, but it could be 7 or 8 constructors fighting it out. Like, I want to see more parity competitiveness in that sense where it's not just such a 2 teams rush away from everyone else and everyone else is fighting for the scraps. Like, I want it to come down to driver ability or the little tweak that team does to get them, and it's legal, of course, not illegal, but that little tweak, that bit of engineering they do to get ahead, not just dominance from Mercedes, because they pushed for the V6 turbo hybrid engine and they were the masters of it. So they've
Despite
dominated
the
for
fact-
so long. Like,
Despite the fact they don't put it in their own road cars.
yeah,
As Martin Brundle pointed out to Toto Wolff. But it was... Mercedes sat there and complained about Ferrari's engine from 2019. So Ferrari had to run a dog of an engine. Mercedes shows up last year with that DAS system, which I still maintain was a driver aid, which is illegal, but they got away with it.
Yep.
It just seems like Mercedes...
And then they rocked up at the start of this year, bitched that the high rate cars were getting the bigger benefit than the low rate cars.
And it's because they designed their car wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What-
they can't
what the
sit there and
the
point
first-
their finger at everyone else.
The first year there was actually some parity.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. So we're going to move on from the news now. So we're gonna go through each team and just talk about their season in general. So we're gonna kick off with Alfa Romeo,
Ooh.
purely because these things are in alphabetical order.
Ah.
So Alfa
Right.
Romeo, how do you guys think their season was?
Meh.
Yeah.
Meh?
I mean,
Look,
what you couldn't have expected, probably much more, I guess.
I expected a little bit more.
But yeah, I would say I did. Yeah.
I thought they had a better year last year than they did this year.
Yep.
I think their 2019 was their best year they've had in a
Sorry,
while.
yeah, that's what I meant. Way back. But I think Antonio Giovinazzi was driving for his life, and Kimi Raikkonen was in his last
I think
year.
it wasn't until Gio really figured out that his head was on the chopping block. I think he was just coasting, going, I am Ferrari Academy. I'm going to get into a Ferrari soon.
It did seem like that, didn't it? Because
Yeah.
as soon as they went, oh, no, maybe you might get dropped from here, he put together a couple of good qualies and he just unfortunately binned it in the race. But he started to put it together and showing like, oh, this guy might have something other than just sitting at P14 every race and every quali.
There were a
you
few
know,
races earlier. I think it was maybe Imola, something that he had good qualifying pace, but then he'd get to the race and just drop off.
he crashed out, I think, in Imola.
He
Yeah.
kind of reminded me of Jarno Trulli. Like he would qualify really well, and then he would just fall asleep behind the wheel
Yeah,
during the race.
he wasn't great on race day.
And Kimi Raikkonen, Kimi Raikkonen had mentally left when he left Ferrari.
He was only there because Alfa Romeo wanted a world champion on their books for some, like, for
Oh,
whatever
yeah,
reason
like
it meant to them to have
experienced-
one. Yeah.
something like that.
But Kimi Raikkonen probably wasn't the one. If you want to get a guy on your books for, he's got experience, but I don't believe Raikkonen was adding much. Like you said, he was just driving
He was just driving
out
for
of
shits
hobby.
and giggles.
Yeah, I could see the appeal of having Fernando Alonso more, and he's shown that this year, than Kimi Raikkonen on your
Yes, he
books
did.
just for the sake of having one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it was clear this year that Kimi Raikkonen didn't have it anymore. He
but,
didn't.
But I wonder what the true potential of that car was. The true potential of that package was.
I don't know if we got to see it this year.
I don't
think we
know.
did.
I don't know if we got to see it or it really was just that average.
Well, if I
I
was,
really don't know.
if I was to give Alfa Romeo a score out of 10, with 10 being amazing and 1 being quite shithouse, I honestly would give Alfa Romeo a 3 out of 10.
Yeah, I wouldn't go much higher either.
Yeah, I'd go 3.
What do you think their chances are next year, though? I mean, I know it's pretty
Yeah.
pretty early on, but they've got Valtteri Bottas and they've got Guan Yu Zhou.
Better.
Well, they've got the best driver they've had for a while
Yeah.
in Bottas.
Yeah.
He's
So
also
mu-
going to be the number one, and less pressure than he's had at Mercedes. So who knows what that might unlock. So in terms of having a driver with potential, they've got that. It's just what their car's going to do.
Exactly. And
Well,
they
I
got Guan Yu Zhou who has pace.
Yeah.
They're going to have the new version of the Ferrari power unit.
I think their prospect's good. And Valtteri's coming from a team that has won 8 constructors in a row. So he's got championship mentality coming down to a team that needs some help.
And now he gets
And
to
he
be the
can bring
guy.
that.
He gets to be the Lewis
Yeah,
Hamilton of
now
Alfa
he
Romeo.
gets to have a team built around him
Yeah.
that Guan Yu Zhou's going to learn off.
Yeah.
And Alfa Romeo is going to have a lot of ex-Ferrari personnel there as well. So that will help them in the long run.
I think their trajectory is looking good. It's definitely going up.
I don't think
But-
they're going to ascend too much higher, though.
Not initially,
I
but give
think
it a couple of years.
I think 7th in the constructors is optimistic for them.
Yeah.
Give it some time.
Yeah.
Give it some time.
AlphaTauri, how was their 2021?
It was all right.
It wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad. Pierre Gasly definitely put his best foot forward. But again, last year I think was a little bit better for them.
I honestly think they had a car this year that could have fought could have been in that 3-4 battle range.
Yeah.
If Tsunoda had some consistency for the year, which I don't want to knock on him because he was a rookie year, and I'll talk a bit more about him later. But if he was as consistent as Pierre Gasly, they would have been fighting in that 3,
Yeah,
4 range.
They
That's
probably
how
would, they
good
probably
their
would
car
have
was
caught
this year.
McLaren.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I think they probably would have finished 4th. So I
Yeah.
think they had a good year. They had a really good year.
For me, the words punching above your weight
Yeah.
really is AlphaTauri. Like, you going into the season, you could have thought, oh, you know, seventh or eighth in the constructors, like if they were, you know, back in their Toro Rosso days. But to finish, they finished 6th? Was it 6th?
Yeah.
Yeah,
behind
6th.
Alpine.
Yep.
And Pierre Gasly was consistent all season. Actually showed what he can do in a Formula One car.
He was great this year.
Yeah, I think it was just Yuki Tsunoda letting him down.
But by the end of the season, he'd started getting some good performances in as well, Yuki.
He got some consistency at the end. He's got pace, Yuki. He showed he has got pace. He just doesn't. He lacks the consistency, and I think he's been a bit on track at times. He's a bit frantic. He's a bit.
He lacks confidence.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's patience is the word, but
yeah,
just lacks
it is,
that.
it is, and that's coming from the Formula 2 system.
Yeah.
You know, you don't forget F2 drivers, and who was it that said it? Was it Schwartzman? I think Schwartzman got a practice run in the Alfa Romeo in Abu Dhabi, and he got out there, and he was just banging in laps, and he got back to the pits, and he's like, oh, there's still 45 minutes to go in the session. And he's like, I couldn't wrap my head around it because Formula 2, we've got 30 minutes for qualifying, then we got to do a sprint race, then we got to do a feature race, and then we got to do like a main race. And they're like, in Formula 2, you've got no time to do anything. And then when you get in Formula 1, you've got all this time. And
To focus on the
yeah,
one
and
race,
he's like, and
yeah.
I had to like learn to pace myself
Yeah.
and to be more patient in what I was doing in the car. And that's something I think Yuki struggled with.
I think
Because
so.
the world of Formula 2, you've got half an hour practice session, a half an hour qualifying session, a sprint race, and then a feature race. Like, you don't have a lot of time to get ready for the racing.
It's just go, go, go.
In Formula 1, you do. You've got a lot of time to get ready for the racing. And maybe that's something Yuki struggled to adapt to.
But I do think that the unsung hero of the AlphaTauri was the Honda power unit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was definitely the unsung hero of their campaign this year.
I feel like they could have even got even more out of this car, honestly. I think there was a few missed chances for them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Qatar where Pierre Gasly started P2 and they went the 2-stop and it just didn't quite work out for them. I think they both finished out the points, but
Yeah.
if they had got their strategy right, Gasly would have been top 5 and, you know, Yuki would have been in the points too there. So there was a couple of moments that they did let themselves down despite overreaching in a
Yeah.
sense.
How do you think about their prospects for next year?
I'm very interested.
Yeah.
Very, very interested. These
See-
guys in Alpine, I'm real interested to see what they do next year.
Well, for me, I think the AlphaTauris are going to slip down the batting order. I think they're going to finish 8th in the constructors.
No,
Do you reckon?
I don't.
The reason why, the reason why this year's unsung hero was the Honda power unit. Next year, they're going to Red Bull powertrains.
True.
And I'm worried that it's going to be very much like Williams going from the Renault to the Mechachrome. That they're recycling this year's tech and this year's engine because they've got to make it themselves. So I don't think they're going to be innovating. And I think that will hurt them. While every other team is ascending because they're innovating, Red Bull powertrains are just recycling, and I think they're going to get lost in the mix.
So you think this was like the peak
Yeah,
they've had and now they're going to drop off slightly?
yeah. I think they're going to drop off until 2026 when they get Audi power units.
Time will tell.
I can see that.
But if I was to rate them out of 10, I would honestly give AlphaTauri a 7.
Yeah, based on what they have, yeah, 7's a very fair mark.
Yeah.
Not because they were brilliantly outstanding, but for what they have, I think they got as much out of this car. I think they could have got more.
I think they were brilliantly
I
consistent.
think they left some money on the table, but I think for what they have, good season.
Alpine.
Yes.
I think they had a solid season. Going into this season, I wasn't expecting anything. I mean, the last few years, the Renault engine has been a slightly scolded dog. And we were very skeptical of the driver lineup with Esteban Ocon and Fernando Alonso, who pleasantly surprised us.
Oh, very much so.
And the Renault engine, despite it being the slowest engine on the grid, it gave them some good results.
I expected them to be what Aston Martin were this year, but they weren't. Like,
Yeah, I expected
They
these
were
guys to
way
be
better.
fucking dismal.
yeah, I did not expect much at all in terms of the car and the driver lineup. Like, I just didn't rate anything about them at the start of the year, and they well overreached my expectations of them.
Absolutely. I mean, Esteban Ocon won the Hungarian Grand Prix, and Fernando Alonso was on the podium in Qatar.
Yep.
And their end of season form was phenomenal.
Yeah.
They were up in the top 6 consistently. They were beating McLarens. They were sometimes beating one of the Ferraris. They were brilliant. I think these guys have had an amazing season.
Yep.
For the expectation we had of them to where they finished is nothing short of brilliant.
I think the unsung hero of Alpine. I think I'm going to do that with every team. Is come up with like the
The
unsung
unsung
hero.
heroes. All right.
I think the unsung hero of this team was the camaraderie between Ocon and Alonso.
Yes.
And Alonso really taking on that elder statesman leadership role in the team and really helping Ocon along.
Seeing them embrace after Ocon's win in Hungary was awesome. Just to see Alonso be actually happy for his teammate. Like, I understand in Formula One, like, you're going against your teammate, but I think it's good to see a bit more camaraderie than what we get these days. Like,
And it was the same in I think it was Jeddah, where he got on the radio and said, "Tell Ocon to fight like a lion."
I think that
Yeah.
was Qatar.
Yeah, it might have been Qatar actually.
Yeah, it was Qatar where he got the
helped
podium.
him get on the podium.
Yep.
But
It was still a great lot of camaraderie.
And
Yeah.
that's what you want to see. Like, you want to. It's just. I think Red Bull did the same a bit this year. You've seen some of it with Sergio and Max. Alpine definitely more than the rest. But that's what I want to see. Like, because you are a team at the end of the day, and you want to see when one guy's race is going well, the other guy going, how can I help that guy better his? Unless they're both up there, then it's each man for themselves. But if you're seeing one guy's race develop better than the other, you want to see that other teammate go, okay, what can I do to help the other guy be better? Because that's the best team option, like not saltiness where you ignore team orders. Sev Vettel, multi 22,
Multi 21.
21, still haven't gotten over it. We're over it, but yeah.
I would also give Alpine a 7 out of 10 for their
Yeah.
season this year. I think they were solid, and their camaraderie is really what got them over the finish line. And they also had that striking paint job. It was a beautiful paint job on that car this year.
yeah, it was a nice paint job. I'm giving them a 9.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, for what they have, for what they had, or for what we thought they had, to what they delivered by the season's end, was as good as you fucking get.
Oh, it's
that's
certainly punching above their weight.
I mean, we formally apologised to them
Yeah.
twice or 3 times now
Yeah.
Ate a lot of humble
that
pie.
we did not rate you guys at all at the start of the year, but you have come and you have delivered. So well done, Alpine.
I'll give him an 8.
So then we get to Aston Martin. To say I'm a bit disappointed by these guys is an understatement. I mean, yes, last year they did all right because they had the previous year's Mercedes painted pink. But this year they just weren't in it.
Nah,
And
they were a nothing team this year.
and the pardon me. The main Jesus Christ, everything's going on. Sorry everyone, everything's going on here at the same time. I think the biggest problem that Aston Martin had this year was they were so reliant on last year's success that they didn't evolve.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything they developed for last year's car was obsolete by the time they started. And Sebastian Vettel came out and he's like, we've got such a draggy package because we had to develop it themselves. Even though he was on the podium in, was it Azerbaijan?
Hungary.
Yeah, Baku.
Was it Baku?
And
He was on the
Hungary.
podium
He was
twice,
twice.
wasn't
Yeah, he was twice.
But
Yep.
one of them was taken away?
Yeah, Hungary.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, you know, he was on the podium twice, but this team was nowhere. Like, I'm super disappointed, you know, a team that seemed to be on the up and up. But, I mean, they'll get there with some future investment, but this team just wasn't anywhere this year. And to see a driver of caliber of Sebastian Vettel consistently finishing 13th, 14th, 15th, you know, that's unacceptable
Yeah.
for a team that's, for a mark like Aston Martin as well, you know, a prestigious mark that, yeah, to be that far down the Formula One grid,
For me,
something's wrong.
for me, what really is Aston Martin's greatest hindrance, it's not Lance Stroll, and it's not Sebastian Vettel. It's Otmar Zafnauer.
Yeah,
I don't
so.
think he's a great team principal.
No, I don't either.
I don't think-
all he seems to do is whinge when he gets penalised for breaking the rules. But other than that, you never hear anything of him of note.
Yeah.
He's just meh.
Get rid of him. Get Gunter Steiner in.
Yeah, good to be alright.
I think who was it? Martin Whitmarsh is supposed to be taking over.
Yes.
Yeah, like, so their future is definitely bright. Like, Lawrence Stroll is, you know, and they got Eric Bladden, I think his name is, the chief aerodynamicist from Mercedes,
Yep.
has gone over.
They've got a
Whitmarsh is
few
going
people.
over. They went, who else did they buy? They got someone else.
Yeah, they got a couple of the aerodynamic people from Red Bull,
Yeah.
and they've got the second in charge aerodynamicist from Mercedes jumping ship. So
Yeah.
they've got some key personnel jumping ship. Plus they've got a few old hands in terms of
Management.
management
Yeah.
coming in. So
They're building for the future. Like I said, this team is, you know, down this far for now, but they're not going to be down that far for long.
what do you think their prospects for next year are going to be like?
I actually think good.
Yeah, I think they'll go up the batting order.
Yeah, I think they're one to jump up.
Yeah, I don't think they can be as bad as they were this year. It's not going to be an insane amount of improvement.
No.
Ask me this question again in 5 years, they're probably winning championships.
I think that, yeah, I agree.
But-
I think they can be the Alpine of this year, next
Yeah,
year.
this will be a stepping, like, next year will be the first step in a chain of events that Aston Martin will be winning championships in 5 years.
I think so too.
Yeah. They're putting the pieces in place.
I think the unsung hero of the team this year was Sebastian Vettel. I know that's a questionable call, but
1 million jelly beans.
yeah, it was the 1 million jelly beans. But the reason why I say that is because Lance Stroll did not set the world on fire behind the steering wheel.
No.
Otmar Zafnauer is not setting the world on fire with as a team principal. If there's two things that could be chalked up as to heroes for this team, it's Sebastian Vettel, who he really did drive his nuts off to try and make this dog of a car do its thing.
To get his 2 podiums is clearly him out driving the car.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's certainly punching above the weight. The other unsung hero, I think, is Lawrence Stroll, just sitting there throwing cash and just going, I want a competitive team. I think Lawrence Stroll really has illusions of being the new Sir Frank Williams.
At least
and
Lawrence
it's-
Stroll was putting his money where his mouth is.
Yeah,
though.
he's
that's
he's
right.
not doing it in a douchey way either. Like, he genuinely wants to be in Formula One, and he genuinely wants to win.
Yeah,
He's not being like a Dimitri Mazepin or a fucking...
He's not there to fill up the grid. He's there because he wants to be up the front of the grid.
Yeah, he bought Aston Martin for a reason. He threw money at it for a reason. He's developing this team for a reason.
Yeah.
To be a championship team, a championship contending team, and it will happen sooner rather than later.
So I think next year they will go up the batting order. I think they'll probably be around... It'll only be 1 or 2 places.
Yeah, it won't be much.
They'll show improvement. That's something to get excited about.
Yeah, something
I
to
think
show.
something that Aston Martin might want to think about, though, is getting away from running Mercedes engines.
Can Aston Martin develop their own engines?
Not since Lance Stroll bought the team and worked
mean
up
Lawrence?
a deal with him. Yeah, Lawrence Stroll, not Lance Stroll.
Lance
Lawrence
Stroll just drives the car.
tries to.
He's alright.
Lawrence Stroll bought the team and made a deal with Toto Wolff that Aston Martin road cars will be powered by Mercedes engines,
Well, that's that done.
which is a shame because the Aston Martin DBS, the sound of that V10. I would honestly give their season, I give it a 5 out of 10.
I'll give it a 4.
Yeah, I'd give it a 4. They have got work to do.
Yeah. Next team, Scuderia Ferrari.
Yes.
Ferrari F1. I think they did pretty well. Compared to last year, they really, really improved.
Considering they didn't win a GP, they did
Yeah.
really, really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they were brilliant with what they had. Carlos
Yep.
Sainz and Charles Leclerc were the best team on the grid, like driver pairing.
Yeah,
Yep.
in terms of consistency, they were there.
Yep. Carlos Sainz is in career best form and Charles Leclerc's like right behind him.
Yeah.
And, you know, the package by season's end was easily better than the McLaren package.
I think one thing that really helped Ferrari from last year was they were able to identify what was wrong with the car, which
Yes.
was everything. Like aerodynamically, it was a shitbox. The engine was just a dead llama, and they fixed the engine, they fixed the power unit, and they worked on what they could do aerodynamically to give the drivers more speed without compromising handling. The only thing that hurt their car this year was tyre wear.
Yeah, but by season's end, though, fucking it didn't matter.
Yeah,
They
that's
had
right.
one goal in mind this year, beating McLaren, and it looked like for the longest time they weren't going to do it.
Matteo Binotto actually said their team goal was 3rd in the constructors.
And they
He
achieved it.
said that at the end of last year. We're hoping for 3rd in the constructors. Anything more than that is a bonus. And they got 3rd in the constructors.
Yeah, and not only did they get there, they got stronger as the season went on. Which
Yep.
makes me wonder how long into the season they actually stopped developing their 2021 car and started developing their 2022 car. But
Well, they got a new engine
it was late in the season, though.
after Monza.
Yeah, and then they upgraded their battery.
That was the upgrade.
Yeah,
That's what they got after Monza.
right.
Was a bigger battery because they were carrying 400-volt battery.
Yeah.
And every other team was running an 800-volt battery, and then they upgraded to an 800-volt battery. And then McLaren just sort of got left in the dust.
I think
really.
McLaren stopped developing their car a lot earlier than they were willing to admit.
But from Matteo Binotto said that they were still sort of working on this year's car, but they'd also split the team off and started working on next year's car.
Yeah, you can't. That's the beauty of new regs. You don't want to take your eye off the ball when you're in a championship fight, but you got to start taking your eye off the ball eventually to start.
I think a lot of the other teams, though, it was, we're not developing the other car, so everyone shifts over to the new car. He split key personnel up to start working on the car for next year,
Yeah,
knowing at some point, probably at the end of Abu Dhabi, the other guys were going to join up with that team and they're going to develop the car at full force.
yeah.
But get a bit of a head start and start working on it now. And yeah, play catch up with the rest of the team afterwards.
Yeah, but you got time.
They
Yeah,
got, they got time, they got the team, they got the technology.
they're definitely on an upward trajectory.
Yeah.
I mean, even from the start of the season to the end of the season, they were getting better. Carlos Sainz, once he settled into a rhythm, was the best driver out of both of them.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's the unsung hero of the team. It was not just Carlos Sainz, but it was Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc. Like, they were really consistent.
Yeah,
All year.
it was that consistency that got them past McLaren too.
I think it was actually the addition of Carlos Sainz that really gave them that consistency.
Yeah,
I
he's a
think so too.
brilliant driver.
He adapted, so he was the quickest out of one of the drivers that jumped to a new car. He was the quickest adapter.
Yep, he was.
He was
He
like from the
absolutely
get go,
was.
he adapted, and yeah,
It was
consistent.
almost like changing a front man in a band, like Black Sabbath going from Ozzy Osbourne to Ronnie James Dio. It was that injection of freshness. That
and not losing.
not losing
not
what
losing
they
what-
had,
yeah,
but improving what they've got.
yeah,
And having a driver pair that get along really well, that work together well, and working together to improve the badge, really, the brand.
And they did.
How would you rate their season?
8 out of 10. Yeah, they were as good as they could be.
yep. I would give them an 8 as well.
Yeah, I'd give them an 8 out of 10. And I'm going to say something really controversial. I agree with Tomo. I think they're going to be the champions next year.
Yeah,
That's a big gamble. That is a big gamble. That is me rolling the dice and going all in. 6 million all in.
well, they are the third constructor in the championship, and I don't see Mercedes and Red Bull improving. In fact, I see both of them declining a little next year.
Yeah,
You could be onto something.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, the Ferrari, McLaren, or the Alpine. Somehow, I don't know. Ask me why. I see the Alpine potentially surprising everyone next year.
I have a surprise with that, so we'll move on. Haas.
Oh dear.
Wow, wow.
Oh dear.
Well, they're just going from strength to strength, aren't they? It's how do you
Do you just go straight to the ratings?
what
Need
was
to
good
ask-
about that team?
I need to ask a Bulldogs fan
Mick-
what it was like to follow the NRL this year.
Mick Schumacher and his engineer. That was the only good thing about this team.
And Gunther Steiner.
And Gunther Steiner, yes.
Gunther
Gunther
Steiner,
Steiner is just good at everything.
Yeah.
Gunther Steiner hasn't hung himself. That's positive.
But I mean, the season started off so well. I mean, the year started off so well with Mazepin celebrating getting his contract by groping a girl and posting the video online.
They were off to a flyer from
They're
the
just
get-go, weren't they?
that's how you kick off a
A
season.
PR disaster on the first day. It wasn't even season testing.
And then having 6 crashes in the first 2 races or something like that.
Yeah.
So Mazepin, I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Casino Royale.
Yeah.
And M comes out of the briefing room and she's like, he gets 00 status and he celebrates by shooting up an embassy. That's what Mazepin reminds me of. He gets 00 status and just shoots up an embassy to celebrate.
Look, they started the year in Bahrain by I think they both crashed.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure Nikita Mazepin,
I'm surprised they could crash that car. It was so slow.
they started the year by crashing in Bahrain. And they ended the year, Mick Schumacher entered the year on the wall in Jeddah. Actually, they both finished in Abu Dhabi.
Mazepin didn't drive in
No,
Abu
no,
Dhabi.
But Mazepin
Mazepin-
had COVID
So Mazepin finished in Abu Dhabi
Yeah.
by not participating.
by not participating, so he didn't crash.
My favourite thing about Mazepin is that on a 20 driver grid, he still came 21st. Because Kubica had a couple races and still beat him.
That's incredible. I did not know that.
And, when you look at what's wrong with this team,
no.
because the list of good things about the team is so short.
This car is 2 years old.
This
Yeah.
guy, my God, you could have gotten a better car by going to an Amish man and buying his horse and buggy, for Christ's sake. It was more aerodynamically challenged.
That's it. I mean,
They can't blame the Ferrari power unit. I mean, Ferrari came third in the constructors on the same power unit. So clearly it's not the power unit.
look, this team has a lot more going for it in the future than it does right now.
Yeah.
All I can say, I've got to find it on my phone. Here it is. So, thanks to Longhorn for sending this in our group chat. The Gunther Steiner Twitter early this year indicated that we were going to invest €0 in our car. I warned for 0 result. We scored 0 podiums, 0 points, and 0 top 10 rankings. Fucking say what you want, but this makes us the most reliable and consistent team ever. If there was ever a team that was going for net zero before 2030, they hit it. They smashed that shit better than F1 ever could have.
Net zero, baby.
Net zero.
Fucking
without
rock
even
stars.
Trying. Fucking rock stars, not fucking fankers.
No wonder
Smashed
the
his fuck door.
no wonder the Haas logo is a H surrounded by a circle. Is that a zero?
That's their net zero target.
Haas
reached.
net zero reached.
That's their rating for the year. A
Achievement
H.
unlocked. Ding.
Seeing they're backed by a Russian gangster, billionaire, douchebag, whatever, call him what you will.
Mhm.
I'd like to know, were they putting petrol in the engine or was it nuclear power from Chernobyl?
Nuclear sludge.
Yeah. Yellow cake.
It's probably a mixture of like sludge and vodka. You know, what you see all those crazy Russian videos how they're like
Just powered by Smirnoff.
driving this fucking weird like toboggan things down the street like it's perfectly normal.
That sounds like a Kimi Räikkönen holiday.
Oh, it will be. He's probably doing that right now
Well,
back in Finland.
No, Ferrari runs Shell fuel, and like Red Bull runs Mobil, and
Mhm.
Mercedes runs Petronas. They were running United Brothers E10.
They're running like Puma fucking something.
85.
Puma 85. Yuck. Anyway, prospects for this team though at least look better.
They can't go anywhere down.
They've got all their development tokens
Like
to
that-
spend.
Like that song from the 80s by a chick named Yaz. The only way is up, baby. For
Yeah.
you and me now.
They've got all their development tokens to spend on next year's car, and they've got the
they've
most.
hit net zero.
And they've got the most wind tunnel testing time.
Do they have a wind tunnel?
Let's hope that accounts for something.
You know what their wind tunnel is? It's one of those paper fans on a straw. And someone's just blowing into it. That's their wind tunnel.
You know, on like F1 Mighty mode, when you first start and you go to your wind tunnel, it's some dude with a fucking
Yeah.
like air compressor.
Blower.
That's them.
And their mock-up of their car just looks like Dr. Brown from Back to the Future's mock-up of how they're going to stage Sending Marty back to 1985. Where it's a car that's completely different scale to everything else.
Yeah,
And it still manages to catch fire. That's the
That's
Haas. The Haas way. Look, I honestly don't think the Haas name will be on the grid. If it is, it'll be some kind of miracle. But I think it'll be become Uralkali F1 team.
Gene Haas is too proud of a man for 3 people in Australia to be laughing at him fucking 9 months of the year. But you know what? Thanks for the entertainment.
Yeah,
buddy.
but you know who is going to replace Haas? Like Haas will sell his thing to Dmitry Mazepin, and you know who's going to put their name all over that damn car?
That dude,
William Story. It's
Yeah.
going to be Rich Energy back again.
Rich Energy.
Yes.
Rich Energy.
Dreams really do come true.
Oh.
Him and his beard will be so happy that they could bullshit their way back into F1 with their rebranded Red Bull that they sell at insane prices to nightclubs because the common folk don't buy that shit. But, so, I think the unsung hero of the Haas team this year was definitely Mick Schumacher.
Yeah.
Yeah, he put it into Q2.
Yep.
So that's enough.
He outdrove. It was like watching like a Formula One driver in one of those homemade go-karts that's where the steering is a bit of rope.
Yeah,
That's what it looked like.
the soapbox derby, whatever
Yeah.
they call it. Yeah, we don't really need to do ratings on this, do we?
It's easy.
Look, look.
There's amount.
It's the same
It's the
amount
same
of
amount of
points
points they got.
scored.
I mean, -5 stars. that's what it is. It's a -5.
I'll keep
That
you
was
net-
their
Out
ANCAP
of
rating.
10.
That was their ANCAP rating.
Hey, whoa. Roman Grosjean survived a fireball on a heart. Can't be
True.
that bad.
Yeah,
True.
they also survive rich energy.
That's true.
You know, so yeah, -5 out of 10.
Yeah, I'll keep your net zero going, boys.
Yeah, net zero. Where do I see him next year?
I honestly don't know. I mean,
Has to be better. If you had saved all them
yeah,
tokens,
look,
then you'd just
it
bad
has
next
to be
year.
because if it's not,
Yeah.
someone's getting fired.
Oh.
All of them are getting fired.
Yeah.
No, Gunther Steiner will neck himself.
The team will just be pulled from the grid. We'll have an 18-car grid because it'll just go,
Yeah.
nah.
How did you
No.
have all your development tokens and more wind tunnel time than anyone else, and you not fucking improve?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're destined for last in the constructors. As much as I don't want them to be there, I think that's their destiny next year. Then we get to McLaren. They had a really solid.
Start.
Yeah, the first 4/5, 9/10 was
No, no.
solid.
Not even that much.
Okay,
Whenever Sochi fell on the calendar,
Yeah, after that.
chop it off there.
But here's the thing, okay. I think McLaren had a solid season, but you really have to sit there and go, it was Lando Norris that had a great
Lando
season.
Norris carried this team all year,
He
even
w-
though Daniel Ricciardo got his one win in
Yeah,
Monza.
Danny Rick got the one win.
I'm surprised you haven't said it already, Phil, but Lando Norris was the unsung hero of McLaren.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
He was the
Easily.
very sung hero of McLaren though, for anyone watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, Danny Rick took a long time to adjust to this car, which didn't help the team cause. By the time he adjusted to this car, it seemed like he took 3/4 of the or half the year to adjust to the car, got it right for about 4 races, one of them being Monza, and then fell away again.
And they stopped. It's like, did they stop developing it,
reckon they
or did
stopped
he
develop-
fall away? Or
I reckon they stopped developing this car after
Sochi.
probably Sochi, yeah, which is why this car fell away so much. By the back end, I think they've fully committed to the 22 car.
Do you think it was Sochi? I think they might have stopped working on the car from Hungary.
I don't know. I mean, it,
And like
Yeah.
Ferrari kept developing their car, and that's why they surpassed them after that. Like McLaren hit their ceiling with the car.
Yeah.
After Hungary, and then it weaned off because they stopped developing, whereas Ferrari
Kept-
kept going
yeah.
till the end.
Yeah, because that car was up there. Like Lando was plonking out 4th on the grid, and then Danny Rick got 2nd in that Monza race, and then won Monza, the sprint race, and then won the Grand Prix. Lando put it on pole in Sochi. Danny Rick was probably on for a good race in Spa had it not rained.
Yeah.
So there was a peak of time where this car was the 3rd best car on the grid.
I think though, when it comes to Sochi, the only person who can take the blame for Sochi is Lando Norris.
Is the team? No, it's the team.
It's both of them.
The
Well,
team told
'cause-
him. The team were asking him if he wanted to come in, not telling him.
Yeah, but they asked him and he said, no, I want to stay out. And then they should have gotten on the blower and said, no, mate, come in this lap.
I listened to Lando Norris's Beyond the Grid podcast, where he said in his first year he just did whatever the team said because he was learning and whatever. And then after his second year, he said he started knowing, because he understood how to drive the car and everything, he started saying no, he felt confident in making decisions over the team. So I look at it as a 50-50. I think the team should definitely told him, no, you need to come in. But I also put it on Lando because clearly he has, that the team has allowed him to have the power to make decisions too from his development in being
Yeah.
there. So he has to take onus and go, no, well, I decided not to. So I think it's pretty 50-50.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those hero or zero moments, isn't it?
Yeah.
You'll get them throughout their career. keeping in mind Lewis Hamilton told his team to fuck off when they told him to come in initially the first time and then listen to them the second time. So
Yeah.
I think it was overbearing excitement. Like you could tell by Lando
he
saying
was so
that.
close to his first win.
And
He
they
just
were like,
wanted it.
"Oh, you know, you should maybe come in." He was like, "No, no, no!" Like you could just tell he was just like, "No, I've got
It's
a
like, I've
few
got
laps
this.
left.
It's
Yeah,
like,
I've
I'm
got
so
this.
close. I've got this.
Yeah, yeah. Don't ruin my race." And then
So I think the unsung hero of the team was Lando Norris. But if there was a secondary unsung hero of the team, it was Andreas Seidel.
Yeah.
He's really pulled that team together.
Yep.
And if there was a third, it'd be that Mercedes power unit.
Yeah.
or Zach Brown.
Zach Brown, yeah.
That whole
But-
team's on the up and up still. I mean,
Same
they've-
with Ferrari, though. Like, McLaren and Ferrari are the two teams resurgent.
yeah, we're on the rise. Both of those guys are on the rise. But,
Um,
They're the two I'm most excited for next year.
yeah, me
So
too.
what did we give Ferrari out of 10? We
I
gave them
gave
an
him
8.
an 8.
Yeah, I'd give McLaren an 8 as well.
Yeah,
Oh, JB's shaking his head.
I'm giving them a 6.
I'm giving them a
There
7.
Oh.
there was too much unrealized potential. There was too much money left on the table.
Oh, that's brutal, dude.
And
That
that's
is-
not as the team, that's more directed at my drivers. After Sochi, we fell off a cliff worse than I've fucking ever seen a team fall off a cliff. The car package was good enough for a bunch more, but for Daniel's mistake in Mexico, for Lando's mistake in Brazil, you know, and okay, two hard lucks, Lando got a puncture in Qatar, he would have finished 4th, whatever.
And Abu Dhabi.
And Abu Dhabi as well. He was probably on for a good finish there. Just too much shit. I mean, hopefully it's a matter of luck because I think the package was still decent enough. But if it doesn't light a fire in their belly at least, knowing how much potential they left on the table for next year, I'd be very surprised.
Longhorn, what did you give him out of 10?
I'll give him a 7.
Yeah, so we got 8, a 7, and a 6. Okay. I think next year they're going to be fighting with Ferrari for the title.
Yeah.
I want to see them up there.
I think they're going to be up there.
I think Lando's going to be one of the main contenders next year. I'm excited to see what he does. I'm excited to see if they adapt the car enough to Daniel Ricciardo's driving style to bring him into it.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they don't.
So the next team is Mercedes.
The big dogs.
I think Mercedes... Oh, Mercedes are a really hard one to judge.
Mercedes were Mercedes.
they did
were.
what they did. They're
Yeah.
the well-oiled machine.
They did.
They took their 8th consecutive constructors. Like, take the Drivers' Championship out of it. As a team, they did what they did.
Achieved what you wanted to achieve as a team, yeah.
Yep, Valtteri Bottas, you know, he was a bit patchy, but by the end of the season when he announced he was going, he was one of the best drivers on the grid. Lewis Hamilton was as consistent as ever. You know, Toto Wolff, you know, he ran the team as well as he could. He got in the FIA's ear a little bit, Michael Massey's
Well, I think
ear a little bit.
their pure arrogance is what let them down.
In the drivers.
Arrogance, and Bottas was spent a
Underwhelming.
lot of time asleep behind the wheel.
At the start of the year.
Yeah, until he was announced that he was going to Alfa Romeo.
Although he was nowhere in Abu Dhabi. He was nowhere,
Yeah.
like, I don't think we covered that.
He was very hit and miss.
Yeah.
He for me, he always lacked the killer instinct of a Kimi Räikkönen or a Mika Hakkinen.
Of a world champion.
Yeah.
I mean, we've said
yeah.
that from the start. We that's why I don't think he'll never be world champion. He
No.
doesn't have the killer instinct.
And I think this year showed Lewis's weaknesses as a driver.
Yeah, he can be mentally rattled.
Yeah, he can be rattled. His ego really needed to be taken down a peg.
I think Toto's ego needs to be taken down a peg too.
And I think when it comes to wheel-to-wheel racing, that's something that I think Lewis Hamilton is actually lacking in. He's not very good at wheel-to-wheel racing.
Yeah,
He's
Max
not-
Verstappen showed him up multiple times this year.
Yeah.
Nico Rosberg did too.
I think that's what put Hamilton off was, I think for so long he's been so used to just being leading from the front with no one challenging that when he finally had a driver with the talent to challenge him, you could tell he was a bit rattled
Yeah,
by
he's like,
that
"What the fuck?
throughout the
This
year.
doesn't happen.
Yeah, oh, that's dangerous driving. That's this. It's like, well, maybe you just never had a car actually challenge you
Yeah.
at the top, like actually race you. You've just been so used to taking,
Yeah,
just
and it
going
wasn't
past
just-
everyone on the straight
and it
and
wasn't-
winning by 30 seconds.
It wasn't just Max as well. Sergio took it to him, and Lando took it to him a few times in the middle of the year too.
Yeah.
How many times did we see Lando Norris hold Lewis off?
Alonso took it to him.
Yeah, Alonso took it to him like he had it taken to him, and he did not like it.
Yeah, he just... I think that's the weakness of Lewis Hamilton's driving, is that he just can't do hand-to-hand combat.
But
And honestly, when it was taken to him, I don't think he won at the end of the day out of drivability. Not that he doesn't have the ability, but I think his machinery was what helped him get over those hurdles. Like Alonso fought him off for quite a few laps in Hungary. Quite a few laps.
yeah,
Fought him off.
Lando
with
fought him off a lot in Sochi, and there was somewhere else he fucking had a good.
Monza.
I think Monza, yeah, he held him off in Monza too with lesser machinery.
Yeah.
And I think that also highlights the problem with the Mercedes car, is that it's just designed to lead from the front.
Yeah.
If you put it behind another car, it
That's
struggles.
what I was scratching my head. Lewis Hamilton never has a problem getting through the field in traffic. Valtteri always did though.
Yeah.
I don't know how much.
I think that's more his instinct more than anything else.
Yeah, I think Lewis knows where to put the car to make an overtake. Valtteri just doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as a team, champions do what champions do.
Well, out of 10, I actually gave him a 7. I know it's a bit brutal, but I think idiotic calls like behind the safety car at Abu Dhabi, and just,
The intermediate tyres at Hungary,
yeah,
lining up on the grid on Inters where everyone
Bottas's
else pitted.
silly mistakes like at Hungary.
Yep.
You know, it and just, I just felt like the team is so used to being the benchmark that the moment something significant challenges them, they sort of crumble under the pressure, kind of like when no, I can't say that. I'll get in trouble if he hears it.
They throw their hands up in the air.
Yeah, or they go crying to the stewards.
Yeah,
You know, and
they've been exposed a little bit this year, and I think more than a few teams will take advantage of it next year.
what do you give them out of 10, John?
Give them an 8.
You know, yeah.
As many constructors championships as they won them, they're still the benchmark team. They didn't
Yeah.
win the drivers' title, but they're still the benchmark team
Yeah.
with the benchmark machinery.
I think they get an 8 because of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where do you think they're going to be next year's championship?
I actually think they're going to fall down.
They'll fall, but not far.
I think they're going to be 4th.
Yeah.
Nah, I don't think they're going to drop that far. It's still the same team.
I reckon they're going to go 4th too.
Unless Lewis checks out, I don't know. I'll be interested to see
I think
if Lewis doesn't have a good start to next year. I'll be interested to see if he starts checking out.
Does it tell you something about how he feels about the cars becoming more closer competitive wise? The fact that he's willing to check out straight away? Like, do you think he already sees that they're going to lose the advantage they've had for the last however many years?
Well, I said that. I said
And-
that's why Max and Lewis were fighting for this championship so hard.
Because they knew it was
Because
there.
Lewis reckoning it could be his last genuine shot at becoming champion.
well for me.
He's getting old. How old is he? 34?
36.
36? Yeah, he's not young no more.
But I think something that's going to hurt Mercedes next year is their driver pairing. Let's assume Lewis Hamilton does stick around. It's Lewis Hamilton and George Russell.
He'll stick around, and George Russell will fucking take it to him, and he's
Yeah.
going to fucking hate it.
And
Yep.
it's going to be Rosberg and Hamilton all over again.
I don't think it will be. I think George will run rings around him.
Yeah, I think George will take the fight to him, and he will
And as soon
walk
as
all over
and,
him.
and as soon as fucking Lewis realizes he's this number 2 driver, he's gonna fucking hate it, and he's gonna start checking out.
He's going to pull the pin at the end of next season.
100%.
If George starts showing him up, and he has every fucking potential to, keen to see it.
Yeah. So that's why I think they're going to be 4th in the constructors.
Yeah, I think they're going to...
Let's not forget he stepped into the Mercedes last year for one race, and should have won it.
Yeah.
So he fucking all the talent in the world's there.
So now we come to Red Bull Racing, the drivers' champion and Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez. I think, well, I'm slightly disappointed they didn't win the constructors. Because arguably, I think they might have had the better driver pairing compared to Mercedes.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was times where Checo just didn't quite deliver.
He didn't adapt quickly at the start, which I think cost him in the long run.
Yeah, and then there was a couple races in the middle of the year where he fucking left money on the table as well.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of the coin, when the chips were down and they needed Checo to step up, like
He
at
did.
Abu Dhabi,
Oh,
like
yeah.
him holding off Hamilton to bring Max back into the fight, that was just
Yeah.
purely amazing driving. I mean,
Yeah.
some people, the Lewis Hamilton fans, will sit there and say, "Oh, he blocked him. He did this. He did." It's called defensive fucking driving.
Yeah. He
And
was holding him up on the apex, which is what you do.
And
Yeah.
he when he needed to, when the chips were down, when they were going all in, Sergio Perez stepped up. Mexico, he was fantastic. He won a race this year.
Baku.
He won
Baku?
Baku.
Yeah, he stepped up when the chips were down.
He was
And-
the perfect number 2 driver that they needed, who was there where they needed him to be. Like, he won Baku when Verstappen went out,
Yeah.
Yep.
and so he collected the points. Once he figured the car out, he was more often than not consistently up where they needed him to be, but not like he wasn't like driving where he was affecting Verstappen's race. He was where he needed to be to help Verstappen.
He
if
was
that makes
more
sense.
inconsistent than Valtteri.
Which is why they lost the constructors.
But when he was in the fight, he was in the fight. Valtteri would just let anyone past him. Valtteri was just
But
sleepwalking.
Valtteri was in good enough machinery to not have to worry about being any further back than third.
Yeah,
Like, it's going to be Lewis and Max. And then Valtteri's going to be there. And or maybe if Checo can get himself in the fight, Checo would be there. But Valtteri, honestly, on his worst day, had the machinery to finish no lower than fourth.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times that's exactly what happened. Which is why Mercedes were able to win
Constructors.
the constructors.
but Perez just put in some amazing performances too.
Perez justified why everyone was so shocked he wasn't getting a drive.
Yeah.
At the start of the season.
And then you've got Max Verstappen. I mean,
It was brilliant.
he drives like drivers from the 90s
Yeah.
and the 80s. He is willing to put the car where it needs to be and make the decision. He's very Senna-esque in just, I'll put the car here and you make the decision if we're going to crash or not.
Yep.
I was listening to something. I can't remember where. I've been listening to tons of Formula One content. Might have even been you guys talking about it, but the way he throws the car into the corners, there's only been a few. I think Martin Brundle was talking about it. There's only a few drivers he's seen in history that do it the way. I think it's a setup on his steering wheel or something like that. The way he throws it into the corner. And he said the only other few drivers that do it was Ayrton Senna and Mansell. And it reminds me of exactly what you're saying. Like, he's got that killer driving style to go for it. Like, no matter what, he's got no fear.
He's fearless, but most of the time, he does it to where there's not going to be a crash.
Yeah.
Like, he'll be aggressive, but he's not going to completely crash in you or put you off the road like a Daniel Kvyat.
No.
I think
He'll
Brazil-
bully you.
I mean, there was a few times early in his career where he did,
Yeah.
where he was being aggressive and he was hitting people. But I think he's refined it enough now
Oh, he's matured so
as
much.
to where he knows he can put the car in there aggressively, but not hit you.
He can trust the car.
Yeah, he's got a car. He's got a package he can trust. A car he can trust.
And he, I mean, Brazil, he went a bit too far.
Yes,
But-
that probably should have been a penalty.
But my point of credit for Max Verstappen was he got crashed out in Silverstone. That was a scary crash.
Yeah, he went to hospital. That was
Yeah.
what, 51G?
It's something like that, yeah.
That's fucking not fun.
Knocked
And then
him out.
2 weeks later, he was back in the car. That would have shaken anyone. A crash like that would have shaken anyone to their core. And he showed no fear. He was just like, nah, I'm back. Whatever.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Hamilton.
Would have just pissed him off. He'd be like, all right, I'll see you next race.
Yeah. And the team made really good calls most of the time. And that Honda power unit, just a beast of a thing. Even though it was, I think, by the end of the season, it was a little bit down on power compared to the Mercedes. But then you put it with that Adrian Newey aero package,
Yeah.
and you had something special.
And what I really liked, and he's been waiting for it fucking ages, was Christian Horner being able to get back into the fight with Toto.
Yeah.
Like, off the track,
Yeah.
like, politically, through the FIA, and trading barbs through the press. And, he's fucking relishing every goddamn moment of it.
Yeah.
He's like, I've been waiting a long time to fucking sink my teeth into Toto Wolff, so... And he took his chance, and he sent some barbs Toto's way, and Toto sent it back, but I think this team in its entirety has relished the chance of ruffling Mercedes feathers all year. And we finally got a team that was able to take it to them. And they took it to them on the track, off the track. And, they didn't get the constructors, but they got the drivers. And that's all anyone really remembers anyway.
Out of 10, I would easily give these guys a 9. Easily.
I'm
Yeah.
giving them a 10.
Oh, 10 out of 10.
Just because they were able to compete and knock Mercedes off. As Johnny just said, on all facets, they took it to them. And they beat them in the end.
I'm going to give them a 9 as well. That's as good as we could have asked for.
I think, though, next year they're going to drop down the batting order because
It's just to see how good they can develop their own engine.
I just keep having visions of Williams running Mechachrome and Super Tech engines. It's just they're going to go down the batting order until Audi rejoins.
We'll see. I mean, hopefully they don't fuck around with it too much, but we'll see.
I think they're going to be 5th in the constructors.
I don't think it's going to be that bad.
Which then you're probably going to say, well, if you think 1st and 2nd are going to be Ferrari and McLaren, who's going to be 3rd?
Oh.
I think it's going to be Williams.
That's a big call.
That's a
That is a
massive
big
call.
call.
Huge
but-
call.
Who's their driver lineup next year?
Alex Albon and Nicholas Latifi.
I don't think they've
That's
got the
not a
drivers
team
to pull it off.
That's not filling me with confidence. I'm going to be real.
Albon gives me some hope. But
Albon
yeah,
gives me hope.
Latifi doesn't.
Latifi.
Albon having a chance to lead. Because he is going to be the number 1 driver. Latifi is not a number 1 driver. He is a number 2 driver.
Albon left Formula One because he wasn't where he needed to be.
But that was also under the Red Bull program,
Yeah.
where a
that
lot
was-
of good
And
drivers.
was
now,
being second-
for
Look
them,
at Pierre Gasly.
for them to get where Phil wants them to get to, Albon's going to have to be where Christian Horner wanted him to be 2 years ago.
I, think
I
he
don't
can do
know.
it.
I don't know that he can.
I mean, it's a big dice
I know it's a
roll.
massive call. What are you basing it on, though?
I'm basing it on Williams being resurgent. Like, this year they improved.
They do have a Honda Mercedes power unit,
They've got a Mercedes power unit, but they are running their own gearboxes.
and they get a bit of wind tunnel time because they were 3rd last in the constructors.
But for me, the reason why I think Williams are going to be climbing up the batting order is the investment from Dorilton Capital. Finally having some cash and having a team that now knows that they're secure financially is what's going to bring them confidence and bring them back into the fight.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget the last time this team was in a position like this, Valtteri Bottas was driving for them, and he was getting on the podium a fair bit. Like, they've had a decent car back, 2014, 2015? It was a while ago. But now...
That was when
2012, I think it was, wasn't it?
it might have been
2012,
earlier.
2012 was their last win, which was Pastor Maldonado.
It was after that. It was when they was
2013,
when they-
2014, yep.
2014 and 2015, they did really well because
Yeah.
they had Valtteri and Felipe Massa.
Yeah, that was a good driver lineup, and they had that awesome Martini livery.
Yeah.
God, that was such a good-looking car.
It was, wasn't it?
Bring that back.
My mum actually tried Lavazza, which is coffee.
Yeah, that's a coffee thing.
Yeah, she actually thinks it's quite nice. She prefers the Starbucks, though. But, yeah, she quite liked the Lavazza.
Yeah, they need to
Coffee.
bring back that Martini livery. Get rid of your creator mode.
So,
Stripey livery.
Phil, what you're trying... I haven't picked a constructor to cheer for yet, and I've nailed it down to two different teams, McLaren and Williams. So what you're trying to tell me is I should become a Williams fan next year.
In the 90s, until Sir Frank did the dirty to Damon Hill, I was a Williams supporter. So, you know, and then they did the dirty to Damon Hill and got rid of him after he won the world title and replaced him with Heinz-Harald Frentzen, and Jacques Villeneuve became the lead driver. I sort of went, no, that's not cool. And then the next year after that, they were running Mechachrome engines because Renault had pulled out. And the Mechachrome engines were rebadged Renault engines. So that Mechachrome were kind of like an external Red Bull powertrains, where they were taking an existing engine and just trying to update it.
Yeah.
And then the year after that, they were running Supertech, which was 2-year-old Renault engines that they were trying to update. And eventually Mechachrome and Supertech were bought by Renault and started working on Renault F1 engines when Renault returned in 2003.
Right.
So it all came full circle. But for me, Williams is the old guard, but with the blood of younger people in it. They feel like a hungry team, which is something we don't get from Haas or Alfa Romeo. These guys are hungry to get back up the front. And I think now that Sir Frank Williams has passed on, they want to be fighting up the front to do the Williams name proud.
Yeah, they have a reason to.
Yeah, they got a reason to fight harder than the Mercedes, than the Red Bull, than the Alpine.
Yeah, they get to be the plucky underdog.
They're a proud racing team
Well,
from their history and from their...
Historically, they're
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah.
So that's why I think they're going to be third in the Constructors next
And
year.
the F1 purists would love to see it too.
And I'd love to see him go back to an old livery of blue with white and yellow.
I want that Martini livery back. It's sexy. It's sexy.
But, the old Canon livery.
Yeah, the Canon livery was good too. Like, that's
Yeah.
the iconic Williams livery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Alex Albon's hungry to prove that he belongs in Formula One.
Yeah.
And Nicholas Latifi, I think, he's going to be driven to prove that he's not the guy who cost Lewis Hamilton the championship.
He's the only thing that doesn't get me excited about Williams going forward. Because
Yeah.
to me, Latifi is just a pay driver. He's not going anywhere. He doesn't have the talent to... He's never going to be a world champion, or... I don't know. He doesn't excite me. Like, Albon actually excites me. I see talent there to get excited about.
I said the same thing about Lance Stroll like 3 years ago.
Yeah, but Lance Stroll
then Lance
has at least
Stroll
showed things.
He went
Like,
and proved it.
Yeah.
Nicholas Latifi hasn't.
yes, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, Latifi to me is just there.
I think if they had announced an all-new driver lineup of Alex Albon and Oscar Piastri,
Oh,
Be excited.
I'd be a Williams fan right now.
yeah, so...
Or even if they had managed to get Bottas back and they had Albon and Bottas.
Oh, yeah, that would be
That
would
would
be
be exciting.
Very exciting, you know?
Yeah.
I think the only thing that might hold them back besides Latifi is also the Mercedes engines. Because being a customer team, Mercedes is not going to give them all the tools to fight up the front. They're going to have to make the tools themselves.
Yep.
But this season, I would... it's hard to give them a rating, but I'd give them a 5 out of 10.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'll give them a 5. I mean, they did what they could.
The-
I expected more from George Russell.
yeah.
I mean, he got his air quotes podium in Spa for the race that didn't actually happen.
Yeah.
But I expected a little bit more from them. Maybe next year they'll start finding that fire again.
I'm going to give him a 7.
Yeah?
I think they did what they needed to do this year, and they've built enough excitement around them under that going into next year that, you're making predictions they could become third. So if I look at this year, I think, yeah, they did build enough excitement. They did what they needed to do. They got the points to, they were well above Haas and Alfa Romeo,
Yeah.
but they weren't quite. I would say they were almost close to, other than a couple races, they were close to Aston Martin almost.
Yeah, but Aston Martin severely underperformed as well.
Yeah, that's it. But
They're not anywhere on the level of AlphaTauri or Alpine.
no, definitely not. But
Their challenge now is to capitalise on the platform they've built.
yes,
I'm keen to see how they do it.
And I think the unsung hero of Williams this year was not George Russell.
Because he won't be next year.
No, he won't be next year, but I don't think he was this year's unsung hero. I think this year's unsung hero for Williams Racing was Dorilton Capital.
Yep.
You know, giving that cash injection and securing the Williams name on the grid in the future for Formula One.
Yep.
Really gave the team a bit of a spark after years of... Like, there was one season where they showed up for practice or for testing without a car.
Yeah.
You know,
That wasn't that long ago either.
We haven't seen that type of shit since the 90s.
Yeah.
You know?
But
So-
it's good. They have a platform now. They can start building on it.
Right. So now we get to some fun stuff. 6 drivers that impressed this season.
who are we starting with?
Look, I'll go first with my number 6. Number 6 for me, a driver who really impressed me. So we got 6 and we work our way up to number 1.
All right, I'm going to have to reorder my thing. Hold on.
Well, number 6 for me, and you're going to be surprised that he's a bit lower on the card, but number 6 for me was Max Verstappen.
Mm.
The reason why he's number 6, I mean, I know he's the driver's champion and everything, but the reason why I've put him at number 6 is because he was in like superior technology to 3/4 of the grid, and so you sort of got to balance it out. But I mean, the talent is there. I mean, he's the world drivers champion. He did really well on the track. Off the track, he was still a bit fiery, but I think he really did impress me. Gave us all some fantastic moments over the course of the season.
Fair enough.
Longhorn, you want to go with your number 6?
Yep. So first off, I'll just mention as well, I actually didn't include Hamilton or Verstappen in my list, and
Oh, that's fair.
the reason being is, to me, they were like
They're the
by-
top of the...
yeah, they were top of the top, so you don't need to, like, yeah, they impressed, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've gone with drivers outside of those two.
Yep.
My number 6 might be a surprise considering how we spoke about him earlier, but it's Mick Schumacher.
Yeah.
And the reason I was so impressed with him was to be in that team, which was such a shit show, and to have Mazepin as a teammate, and yet he turned up every session. He turned up. He managed P12. He got into Q2. He outdrove that shit box car, and he showed us the talent he has. Like, he has talent. He is not just a name. He has talent. And he's, you know, according to all reports, he's one of the first to the paddock, last to leave. Like, he is doing everything he can to be better despite being in such a poor situation.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was quite impressed with that. The way he held himself and drove and just, yeah, put his head down and dealt with the situation he was in. So he's my number 6.
JB, your number 6?
Well, my number 6, for the same reason Brody just said he left him off his list entirely, was Max Verstappen. He impressed me because he took it to Lewis and he beat Lewis when it counted. But I mean, he was championship favourite going into the season. And you know, he managed to hold his nerve when it mattered most to win the championship. But the Red Bull was the best car on the grid for probably the first, maybe third of the season, before Mercedes equalised and then maybe pulled ahead by the end. So in terms of, you know, shock the world impressing, no. But impress him in terms of winning World Championship, yes. So, good on you, Max.
All right, my number 5. My number 5 was Fernando Alonso. I think Fernando Alonso, he impressed me by showing not just what he can do on the track, but he did something that a lot of, like the Sebastian Vettels and the Kimi Räikkönens didn't do, which was his willingness to work with his younger teammate and really become a bit of a mentor. And for me, that really impressed me, was Alonso being a mentor to Esteban Ocon and really showing camaraderie and a team spirit.
Yeah.
And that really set him apart for me.
My number 5, Yuki Tsunoda.
Oh, okay.
I'll explain. So, he was inconsistent. That was his big problem this year. But for me, I looked at it and thought, well, he's a rookie. He's come in under the Red Bull program, which we know is like a pressure cooker to be involved in. He's come in his first season, struggled at the start. Probably three quarters of the year, he probably was just inconsistent, but he showed pace a lot. Like, he impressed me with his pace at times. He could just never put it together on a whole race weekend. But those last 6 races, he did for me. He put it together. And he ended up finishing the season with his best finish at 4th, and he was consistently in Q3, and it felt like, oh, here we go. Here's a driver that's putting it together, and it's why I believe you need to give these guys a bit more time rather than, 6 races thrown in and out. And I think next year he's going to be even better for it. So, hence why I was impressed. I just think he put it together towards the end of the year, despite all the pressure and everything going on, and he showed me why he should be in Formula 1 at the moment, and why he should get another year to prove himself. And I'm looking forward to seeing him next year.
JB?
Yeah, it's my number 5, Pierre Gasly.
Ooh, nice pick.
I think he had a great year. I think for a lot of 4th place, especially towards the end of the year. A lot of P4s. I mean, he was P2, started 2nd in Qatar, I'm pretty sure it was.
Funny enough with that, though, he was P5, I think, but he caused the safety car, and then he got up to P2
Yes.
from them ignoring yellow flags.
Yes, he did. He snuck his way out of the front row of the grid. Good drive. I think he was like 6th or 7th in the Drivers' Championship as well.
7th, I think.
Surrounded by, drivers in superior machinery.
Yeah.
I think he's done his stocks no harm this year again. As, he's not going to find his way back into a Red Bull. But he's making the most of what he's got. And he's definitely one of the better mid-pack drivers for sure.
Well, my number 4 is Esteban Ocon. Why Esteban Ocon? Because he shut up, he put his head down, he got on with it, he outdrove the car, and he won a race. And when it was his turn to try and hold off, I think it was Lewis Hamilton, he did his best, and he fought like a lion, and he just really shut me up in terms of my criticisms towards him. So I think he did really well, and he impressed me to get into my number 4 spot.
Very nice. My number 4, which Phil's already touched on, was Fernando Alonso. Coming into the year, I was never a big Fernando Alonso fan. Coming into the year, I didn't think much of him coming back. I thought, why waste a seat on Fernando Alonso? And I've come out the year being a big Fernando Alonso fan, wanting to see him for the next few years. I agree with everything Phil said earlier. He just come in, took that mentor role on, was an excellent teammate, outdrove the car, and just showed he deserves to be in Formula 1, and the sport's better for him being in it.
Absolutely.
So,
JB?
My number 4, Sergio Perez. As we touched on, great tail gunner. It took a while to ease into it, but he got his win in Baku. He was there when Red Bull needed him to be in Abu Dhabi. And he wasn't quite as consistent as Valtteri Bottas, but in terms of adapting to the car and being the driver that Christian Horner needed him to be, he was. He was by the end. And, all the reason why everyone thought it was a travesty that he was leaving the sport at the end of 2020, he showed why he belongs in Formula 1. And in a top team as well. You know, he did everything asked of him.
Well, my number 3, I think Longhorn already mentioned him. My number 3 was Mick Schumacher. In an absolute dog of a car, I think he showed great poise behind the wheel. He drove like his old man,
Yep.
and also like off the track, because a lot of this stuff is also off the track as well. Off the track, he was very respectful, and he just came across as a guy like a lot of these drivers, like Kimi Räikkönen and Fernando Alonso, and that. Like, he was a kid growing up on the grid around these guys,
Yeah.
and now he's driving against them, and he still looks like a kid looking up at these guys, like, oh my God, it's Fernando Alonso, it's Lewis Hamilton. You know, he has that wonderment
Yep.
about him. But on the track, he drives like his old man, and I can't wait to see him in better machinery so that he can really take those tools, those skills that he's got from his old man, from his uncle, and put it together with a decent package. I think if you put him in a decent car, he will be a world champion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
He has the
agree.
pedigree.
He has the talent.
Oh, he's got the tools, he's got the talent, he just needs the car with him to make all that happen. Once he gets a decent car, the package will be complete with Mick Schumacher.
Yep. We up to 3?
Yes.
My number 3, Lando Norris.
Ooh.
That's my boy.
Consistent all year. Yeah, he just constantly put that car as best as you could probably put it on that weekend. Other than a couple mistakes here or there, but every driver had that throughout the year. Yeah, I think he was unlucky to finish 6th in the Drivers' Championship towards the end, because McLaren did drop off towards the end. But before that, he was 3rd for a while, then he was 4th for a while, and then he was fighting between 4th or 5th, and then unfortunately it dropped towards the end. But yeah, he might have even been higher on this list if he managed to pull off Sochi. That was unfortunate, but he'll learn from that and get better. And to me, he's just one of the younger, exciting drivers of tomorrow, where he had another good year where he improved. He was consistent. He was fast. He got his first pole position. I just think the future's really, really bright for him. I mean, he
He's
went
just
up.
got to wear some shades.
Yeah. I mean, he went up against Daniel Ricciardo, who is one of the best drivers on the grid, and he outdrove him this year. It's just, fact at the end of the day. He, fair, it was Danny Rick's first year in the car, but, Lando Norris did what he had to do and was consistent every weekend, and for that, he's my number 3.
JB?
Number 3, Esteban Ocon. Drove the wheels off that Alpine, got his win in Hungary. Was consummate teammate to Fernando Alonso. Fernando came into that team, didn't try and take it over. Esteban didn't let him take it over, and, his talent shone through this year. A lot of really good performances on the tracks where the car suited, him and Fernando as well. I just think he had a very good season. The expectation we had of both of them at season start wasn't very high, and by the end they've both proven us wrong, so pretty easy to put Esteban this far up the list.
Well, my number 2 is Pierre Gasly. I think he outdrove that AlphaTauri. He was punching above his weight, but he was also showing the talent that he's got. And for me, if you can show what talent you've got in the underpowered machinery, then you've got something really good that deserves to be in a top-tier team.
Yeah.
And Pierre Gasly showed it like he did in previous years being at Toro Rosso. He didn't quite show it when he was in Red Bull, but Red Bull is a pressure cooker as well. It's a kitchen. If it's too hot, you should get out of it. And he got out of it. He went back to Toro Rosso, to AlphaTauri, and he's really shown what he can do in an environment where he doesn't... the heat isn't set to sauna.
Where he feels supported.
Yeah. And the only complaint I've got is I think that he needs to get out of the Red Bull system and make his own way to a top-tier team, or else he's just going to get lost in the shuffle.
Yep. My number 2 is also Pierre Gasly. I pretty much agree with everything Phil just said. And I wouldn't mind touching on the last thing you said where, like, I agree, I think he needs to get outside of the Red Bull banner, but I just don't know where he can end up. I don't know where that seat's going to become available.
I think...
Because he's not going to go back to Red Bull.
I think, actually, the best place for him to be is if Daniel Ricciardo doesn't prove himself at McLaren. I think he'd be great fit at McLaren.
Yeah, Gasly and Norris would be a good driver lineup.
I think that'd be a great driver lineup.
Yep, that's probably the only spot I can see opening up, is if Ricciardo shits the bed next year and they decide to move him on. Other than that, like, I think everywhere else up the top of the grid's probably pretty set for the next couple of years, or got, you know, another talent they'll probably look to first before a Gasly. So it's kind of unfortunate because here you've got a driver that's got got talent. It's clearly fast. Like you said, he's done well with inferior machinery, but unfortunately, I'm not sure where he goes from here, because I think he's got a bit more if he had better machinery, but I just don't know where he's going to get that.
I think he's a victim of politics.
Yeah.
Okay. Or just bad timing.
Yeah, I think it's like, you know, all those drivers that went through that Red Bull, it took the, 10-year veteran to come in and do the job they needed. And they were probably putting that pressure, like a 10-year veteran could probably take the pressure Red Bull puts on you. But, new guys coming through the system, especially these days, I don't think it worked. Like, I think it's proven that it doesn't work. Max Verstappen's the only one it's sort of worked with. I think the rest, it's chewed it and spat them out, and they're probably talented drivers. I mean, Albon's back on the grid for a reason. Gasly's shown it this year with AlphaTauri. So I think that he is, unfortunately, a victim of the politics of the Red Bull team, and maybe he would have been better if he was at another team. He might be, if he had come through another system, you might be now talking about him fighting for, podiums every weekend because he's in a car with machinery to do it. So that's the unfortunate thing. It's like you got a guy with talent now who's sort of stuck in this mid-table team, not sure where he's going to go, but he's got the talent. I think he'll be in Formula One for a while, but I just don't know where he goes without a major shake-up to the teams,
JB?
Number 2, Fernando Alonso.
Woohoo!
For the amount of shit I talked about him coming back into the sport at the start of the year, he has made me sit down, take notice, shut up, stop talking crap about him, because he was amazing this year, especially towards the end of the year when he needed to be. The podium in Qatar, he was up there in Hungary. He is, if the track suited him and the car suited the track, he was right up there. And even when the car didn't quite suit the track, he was up there, top 6, top 5. He was every bit the double world champion that left the sport. I reckon he drove this year in Alpine better than his last year at McLaren.
I think the other thing about Fernando Alonso is that he's returned home, because this team was the Renault that he won the 2005 and 6 championships with.
Yes.
So this is a homecoming for him.
Yeah.
And having that familiarity with the location, with the team, with the personnel, it does help.
Yep. He just seems happy and carefree and let his driving do the talking, and his driving definitely did the talking on more than a few occasions this year.
I have this sneaking suspicion we've all picked the same guy as number 1.
I think we might have.
That's a very good reason why he would be.
My number 1 is Carlos Sainz.
Bingo.
Yep.
He just came into the team. He impressed in McLaren.
Career best form though now.
And now he comes into Ferrari and he just plugs straight in, and he got this car working.
He showed his potential in McLaren. He got to where we all knew he was going to be. And then he got to Ferrari and he just kept building on it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he almost won that race in Monza for McLaren, but the consistency he had this year.
He come in and showed in his first year that he should be the number one driver at Ferrari, despite going up against
Charles
Leclerc, who's hugely talented and a great driver. Yet he come in year one and, I mean, beat him in points.
Yeah.
And he's done that every year. Carlos Sainz has improved at every year he's been on the grid, and he's gone to all different teams. I think this is his fourth team now. He's improved every single year. I think he's the most underrated driver
and
the
yet
grid.
none of us are talking about him
Yep.
being a future world champion, but damn it if he couldn't be.
That's right. Like, I
Right.
think a lot of people are still talking about, well, Leclerc's number one, Carlos and Sainz is the two at Ferrari. But to me, I'm like, no, I look at Sainz as the number one. I'm sure Leclerc is the prodigy that they've put all their chips in, thinking, hey, Leclerc's going to be our next best bet. But I think Sainz has come in and they've gone, oh, we've got two guys here.
I think though that Carlos Sainz. So here's my big call. My big call. Carlos Sainz will not win a world title at Ferrari, but I think he will. I think Carlos Sainz is going to be the guy who replaces Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes when he eventually retires, and then he's going to be in with the fight.
He deserves to be in a top two team, Carlos Sainz, the way
absolutely.
he's driven.
Well, his top two teams probably going to be next year if the Ferrari's as good as we think it's going to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but no, he is.
Yeah, but you're right about him being underrated. Like, future world champion. Well, Max Verstappen's got it now. Lando Norris, George Russell. We never seem to throw his name in the mix.
No, that's what I mean. Everyone seems to. Is it because he's like a little bit older than those guys you just said?
I think because Ferrari has hitched their wagon to Charles Leclerc and they've hitched their wagon to Mick Schumacher.
Yep.
Sainz is the one who's going to get lost in the mix. Sainz will, if he stays at Ferrari, because we all know he's keeping that seat warm for Mick Schumacher.
Yep.
If he stays at Ferrari, he is going to be a Felipe Massa or a Rubens Barrichello.
I think he will.
Which is totally fucking unfair.
Yeah.
I mean, would Ferrari even consider moving Charles Leclerc on if Carlos is consistently better than
you
him?
kind of got to wonder if Ferrari has hitched their wagon to the wrong guy. Because
Yes.
Charles Leclerc, he started off great, but
He's made some fucking errors this year.
I think they put too many eggs in one basket with Leclerc. They signed him to the, what was it, 5 or 7 year?
4 year.
4 was it? Okay.
Yeah.
They signed him to the big deal. Probably, fair getting him in, but maybe not such a big deal. Like you said, they hitched their wagon to Leclerc. Sainz has come in as, like you said, a placekeeper for a couple of years, and he's outdriven Leclerc. And I think next year it's going to come to a head where they're going to have to decide which one to bet on. And I feel it's going to be Sainz. I think Sainz is going to do everything to show why he should be, but I think he also might then fall victim to F1 politics and have to go somewhere else, despite being the better driver next year, which I think he will be.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, 6 drivers who did not impress me this year.
Are we going ascending order again?
Yes.
All right.
Have you got your
Yeah,
chips in order?
I've redone my chips.
All right. So, the number 6 driver who did not impress me this year or really let me down was Charles Leclerc. He let me down.
Yeah.
But, I mean, with Ferrari hitched their wagon to him, and he was the second coming of Christ, and yeah, he was going to do what Jules Bianchi was not given the opportunity to do. And we've had 2 seasons where he really hasn't proven anything. I mean, this year he got 2 pole positions, but he crashed out during qualifying for Monaco, even though he'd just gotten pole position and red flagged it and was unable to do the race. And then he got pole position for Azerbaijan, but wasn't able to translate it onto runs on the board.
Yeah.
So I don't know what his deal is, though. It's very hard to nail it down to what the goal is.
Mm.
I think it's, for me, Charles Leclerc's biggest problem is that because he's been touted as the second coming of Jesus, that he's just not living up to the hype.
Yeah. He's not particularly driving extremely badly, but the hype around him and everything that's been invested into him, you're expecting more.
Yeah. So that's my number 6. Like, he's a talented guy, and he's not the worst driver on the grid. But I think the hype machine needs to sort of click back a couple of gears and just let him be himself and drive naturally.
Next year's a big year for him.
Yes. Longhorn, you're number 6?
My number 6 is Valtteri Bottas. My reasoning being last year at Mercedes, I'm sure he knew his time was coming to somewhat of an end. He's got the best machinery on the grid, but he didn't take it. He didn't drive like he should have until the pressure was off him. Now, maybe that's because he's the kind of driver that doesn't need it, but I just don't feel he was a driver that's taken advantage of having the best machinery like he has over the 5 years he had it. And this year was a year to give it a crack, being the last year he's going to have that car, because we'll go on to new regs, even if he was at Mercedes next year.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it. He lacks that killer instinct, and this year I was hoping for him to show a bit of that, and he just didn't. He just had a Valtteri Bottas season where he's just up there. Like, he's a great driver, don't get me wrong, but he's up there because he's got great machinery, but he doesn't take that killer punch forward when he should or needs to, you know?
Yeah.
He's got the machinery, but he's just clicking laps.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
JB?
Number 6,
Yes.
Lando Norris.
Oh, that's a big call. That is a big call.
Only for everything that happened after Sochi.
And Sochi.
But was it his fault, those couple after Sochi?
A couple were.
He was
A couple
fourth
were.
twice, I think, and he got a puncture.
Yeah. That could have been down to driving style. That could have been down to anything. It's why he's only 6. But there was a lot of times he left a lot of money on the table in those closing races where he knew he was the lead driver over Daniel Ricciardo, where he was going to qualify higher. And there was a lot of chances that we needed to capitalise points on Ferrari, and he wasn't where he needed to be.
Gee, I'd hate to be a player on a team JB goes for.
Look, he may be my favourite driver, but I'm allowed to criticise him.
No, it's all fair. It's all fair.
Look, it was probably his call as well in Sochi that cost him the race there.
Yeah.
But, you know, there was his turn 1 crash in Brazil. That was his fault.
Yep.
You know, there was a couple of other instances where, you know, he needed to be in a better position than he was, and he wasn't. But I'm not super upset at him. It's a learning experience. He showed his potential as well on the flip side. So we'll see how next year goes.
Before I say my number 5, and this is what pertains to my number 5, way back in 1993 or 94, at the very first E3, Sega got up and was talking about the Sega Saturn. They were going to launch the Sega Saturn, and it was supposed to be released in September, and E3 is in July, I think it was. And they were talking about the price being $399 American for it, and Sega shit the bed by actually saying that they'd already put it in stores that day and you could buy it that day. And most of the retailers didn't have it, except for the select ones they had. The guy who was in charge of marketing for Sony in America, Steve Miner or Miller or something, he got up to do his keynote speech, and he had like a big piece of paper with his big keynote speech on it. And he got up on the podium, and all he said was $2.99, and then walked off. That was his kit. He just threw out the speech and just went $2.99 and walked off. The reason why I'm saying this is because my number 5 is Lance Stroll. Meh.
Yep.
Longhorn?
He just filled in his explanation time with the Sega story. Brilliant.
Love it. My number 5 is Antonio Giovinazzi. Was clearly fighting for his spot on the grid, but I think he was just coasting. Yeah, he was in a bad car, but I just don't think he showed anything. He lost out to F1 politics in the end, but I also don't think he did enough to prove his need to be on the grid. He was just nothing performances, and then when they finally went, oh look, we might be looking at getting rid of you, he went, oh, it's like he become another driver. He qualified 7th, I think, at Monza. I think I can't remember what it was. And I was like, oh, here we go. He's finally showing something, and then he binned it in the race. I think he did that a race after that as well. He qualified really well and then binned it again. Just, stuffed up, collided with someone else and put himself back down the back of the grid. And you just never capitalise on chances he should have. And in F1, you have to take chances.
I think his entire time in Formula One, he was very much like Valtteri Bottas, where he's just ticking away at laps.
Just in a really bad car.
Just ticking away, going, I'm in a crappy car. Why should I bother? Why should I try?
I'm going to get the Ferrari seat anyway.
And
do you think that was in the back of his head, thinking that I'm going to make form, like, it doesn't matter my results?
Technically now he does have a Ferrari seat because he's a reserve driver for Ferrari.
Yeah.
But getting a reserve seat in Ferrari, that's kind of like getting a toy with your Happy Meal. Like, that's great, but you're not actually in the Ferrari.
Yeah.
You're sitting there helping the 2 Ferrari drivers in their Ferrari.
Yeah.
You're hoping that one of them gets COVID or has an injury, and then you get in the Ferrari.
Yeah.
But it's not your Ferrari, it's someone else's Ferrari, and you're just keeping their seat warm. So that's... Yeah, I just don't... I don't think he's Formula One material.
No, I don't think he was either.
JB?
Number 5, George Russell. Now, this could be a case of his machinery, but I know what that kid is capable of, and there wasn't a whole lot of time this year that we saw it. This was the guy that was pushing his Williams into Q2 and even a couple of times in Q3 in 2020. And I don't know.
Mr. Saturday.
Yeah, Mr. Saturday. And we didn't see a whole lot of Mr. Saturday this year.
No.
And then come race day, he wasn't Mr. Sunday either. Because, I don't know. I'll put this one down to machinery. In the same way I put Lando's down to more bad luck than anything else that he's on my list. But I just expected more from him. I mean, Spa aside, but Spa didn't really happen. Spa was like a dream. But
it was a wet dream.
It was a very wet dream. Yeah, no, I just feel like I expected a lot more from George. Yeah. But he has every chance to prove me wrong next year.
He does have potential, and we'll be able to see what he can do in the Mercedes next year.
Yep.
Number 4. So my number 4 was Yuki Tsunoda. I just felt like we heaped a lot of praise on him because in testing he was quick.
Yeah.
But then he made rookie mistakes because he's a very emotional guy. He drives from pure emotion, and if he crashes out, he hates himself a lot. And I think it's not a very positive mentality to have. And it's kind of like a poker player where you lose a hand and you lose big, so the next hand you are playing on tilt, where you're betting really big and aggressive to try and compensate for the hand you just lost. And I think that's Yuki Tsunoda to a T, is that he is driving on tilt.
Yeah.
I think he did. I think he did for a long time, and this is actually a test to Alex Albon, but Alex Albon became Tsunoda's driving coach or helped him out, and I think ever since that happened he improved, and I think the emotion got better with Tsunoda. And that probably goes to show you how good Albon is, really, if he's able to help a guy like that improve just by being his mentor, and he's not even in the grid at the moment. Well, wasn't in the grid at the time,
Yeah.
And Albon's a pretty level-headed, chill, non-emotional dude in that way, so I think he positively impacted Tsunoda towards the end, but I do agree with you. He's definitely like that for the most part of the season.
Albon is a good person to take advice from as well. I mean, this is the guy who, in 2 different races, went toe-to-toe with Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, and Hamilton had to take him out because he didn't like losing.
Yeah. So, if there's anyone to talk to about it, it's Alex Albon. So, Longhorn?
We 4? Yep.
Yep.
My number 4 is Daniel Ricciardo. Could be higher, but I gave him a little bit of slack because he's my boy. And first year in a car, even though he's talented enough and experienced enough to probably have done better. And that's purely why he's here. He showed glimpses of who he is. He got the win in Monza, but his consistency was off for a driver of his talent. It was just, if you take out that middle patch of the season where he was up there, I think he got 4th in Spa, 1st in Monza, 4th Sochi, like around that period he was driving like, oh, here we go, here's the Ricciardo we know. He's got his head around the car.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was saying that. And then it just went off a cliff.
Yeah.
It was just, I don't even know, it was like watching Antonio Giovinazzi drive. It was like, what?
It was almost like he went back in time to when he was doing crap.
Yeah.
And just picked up from there.
Yeah. It was literally like that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like all that form he seemed to have found just disappeared and he had to start again. And so, yeah, for me, that's why he's my number 4, I think. Yeah, he's better than that.
JB?
Yeah, my number 4 is Yuki Tsunoda. I think with how much fanfare and hype he came in from Formula 2 with, we knew he was fast and we knew he was exciting. But he got to his head this year a bit. He felt a lot of the first-year jitters, the first-year pressure. And I think because Pierre was driving so well, maybe that played into it as well. Why aren't I as quick as Pierre or whatever? And a lot of that translated to a lot of, admittedly first season errors. But by the end of the season, he had regained his form again. So I'd like to see him continue on with it next year and, put some respect back on his name. But yeah, I think, he left a lot of money on the table as well, but it's only a learning curve for him.
Well, my number 3 was Daniel Ricciardo. My reasons being, like everything Longhorn said, but my reasons why I'm so disappointed in Daniel Ricciardo is not because he's Australian, but because how much money he's been paid by McLaren to do, frankly, a piss-poor job and be completely inconsistent, and yet he can walk around in the paddock with a big grin on his face and be all happy and jokey and shit. And I think this is the season where he might want to have sat down and gone, they're paying me a shit ton of money. I'm in one of the top teams in Formula 1. I need to knock off the jokey bullshit a little bit and get serious.
I think this upcoming season is the season he needs to fucking do that.
The time for clowning around is over, Danny. It's time to focus if you want to be a world champion. If you want to put your name up there with Jack Brabham, with Alan Jones, this is it.
Yeah.
Because after next year,
Time's
after
running out.
2022, the sands in the hourglass are running out. And for the money that you're asking to be paid, the effort needs to match the money.
Yeah.
Because, to be frank, Danny, if McLaren's going to pay you X amount of millions of dollars or pounds or euros or whatever, they could probably pay less money to a Pierre Gasly and get a driver who is far more hungry than you.
We can get a Carlos Sainz back too, don't forget about that.
Get a Carlos Sainz. You can get a Nicholas Latifi. You can get an Oscar Piastri. Pierre Gasly.
Yeah, don't think your seat's safe.
So don't sit there and go, I'm in Texas, howdy partner, and think that shit's going to be funny. McLaren is paying you to do a job. Not to be a clown, not to be happy-go-lucky, but to get on the track and do your job.
Yeah.
And you've got an entire country of people, aka Australia, who want to see you succeed. You're also letting us down, Danny. It's time to pay the tab, mate.
It's now or never for him,
It's-
isn't it?
Yep.
Yep.
It's now or never. Because you're never going to get another shot like that again. Oh, yeah.
I think that might have been at Red Bull, but okay.
Longhorn.
My number 3, Lance Stroll. Over.
You're going to put a bit more of an explanation on it than I did.
I'm going to put a little bit more. I'll put Mare twice.
$2.99.
I mean, just a really disappointing from the whole team, but I think Lance Stroll has always had that pay driver monkey on his back, and he's shown it over the last couple of years that he wasn't that. And then this year, where he's had more experience in the car, he just, I don't know, he just become a nothing driver where you're going, you just look like another paid driver. You're not going to last. Like, I don't know, he just become a nothing again. After last season, I was like, oh, Lance Stroll showed a bit. He deserves to be an F1 driver. This year, he didn't show me that.
Hungary, for me, was a real big point where I was just like, what the fuck is he doing?
Yep.
Yeah, he was trying to avoid Valtteri Bottas, and instead he parked it on the grass, slid across the grass, and then took out Charles Leclerc.
And his personality annoys me. He's got no personality. Like, get some, because I've got to watch you and hear you talk, and
He's
you just
rich
give me
kid.
nothing.
He's rich kid.
Yeah, he's complete rich kid.
He's rich kid.
Yeah.
It's rich kid personality.
Yeah.
He's got spots.
Yeah, it's like, come on, show me a bit more, Lance, or I'm going to start getting on the train where I want you out because you're just a paid driver and you shouldn't be on the grid. And
Yeah, you're just there because daddy's paying the bills.
that's it. And you've done all the hard work to show that might not be true, but this year you didn't. So,
Do you think maybe something that might help Lance Stroll is if one year he was demoted to being the reserve driver for the team and they brought in a more experienced pair of hands to replace him, just so that he can sit there and learn a little bit of humility and go, maybe I need to step up my game. Yeah,
I think he definitely has a sense of security that I don't think is good in Formula One, where he probably thinks in his head, I'm not going anywhere no matter what my performance is because Dad owns the team. And that is probably true, unfortunately, for the most part. But I think that can wean on your hunger a little bit, where, you know, it's other drivers' security is a good thing because you're not worrying and you might, you know, have better free-flowing driving, but I don't think it works with Stroll. I think because he's probably had everything he's ever needed all his life. It's the same in Formula One, so I don't know. He needs to. He needs to show me a bit more next year that he's not just there because his dad owns the team and he can actually drive, because he didn't show it this year.
JB?
Kimi Räikkönen. I know it's your last season in Formula One, and I know you're excited to go home to your smoking hot wife and your kids. But there are a lot of chances in a lot of races that you did some dumb shit. There was a lot of dumb driving from Mr. Räikkönen this year. You know, the amount of times we kept looking at the championship standings and Alfa Romeo were on 13 points. And it's like, they're still on 13 points, but Kimi was in the top 10 for most of the race. And then you look back and you see that Kimi's done something dumb with 5 laps to go and dropped out of the points, or he's got tangled with Sebastian Vettel, or he's hit someone doing something.
Or he spun.
Or he spun. It's like, I know you don't care much, but your team's fighting for points. You're still getting paid. You're a world champion that everyone's cheering on in his final season. Maybe not to the level of Valentino Rossi, but to a level. And there's just a lot of just dumb driving that someone of your experience shouldn't be making. And there was just a lot of really poor performances from him that just bewildered me.
There was a lot of not care, which is obviously
Yeah.
Kimi Räikkönen, but it was kind of like, why did you do this year, in a sense?
Yeah.
If you were going to go about it the way you did for the year. Even though we know you as the Iceman and all the rest of it.
Well,
was like-
the thing is though, he left Ferrari, and he went to Alfa Romeo. As soon as he left Ferrari, he went from being the Iceman to the room temperature man.
Yeah.
You know, he was so meh because he didn't care, because it was oh, he was just ticking over the laps.
Yeah.
When he got let go of Ferrari, he should have retired then.
Yeah.
He was long in the tooth then.
Yep.
As much as we love Kimi, and he is fantastic as a person, as a personality, he's great. But in the car, he'd been lacking for quite some time because his heart was not in it. He was just ticking away at the laps.
I want to see everyone on the grid vying to be a world champion, not ticking over laps.
Yeah, if you don't
From
wanna
top
be,
to bottom,
if
no
you
matter
don't-
your machinery, I want to see your goal as the driver is to become that world champion. That is your soul, that is your heart, that is everything, not just doing it for a hobby.
if you don't want to be world champion, you shouldn't be there.
Yep.
Yep.
Right, my number 2, and I'm going to take a lot of points from Longhorn's explanation for Lance Stroll. Driver who disappointed me, number 2, was Nikita Mazepin. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking...
You can't let you down if you
You
didn't have
can't.
any expectation of him.
I'll tell you why he let me down. Signing an F1 contract and then groping a girl. Sitting there dissing your own team by saying, I'm not sticking around in a lesser team. Someday I'm going to be in a greater team, despite the fact that your dad co-owns the fucking team. Disrespectful. Trying to blame Mick Schumacher for your own shortcomings and saying that the car is a shitbox. Yes, we know it's a shitbox. But that the chassis is crap and he needs a brand new chassis built to his specifications for him to succeed, and then not being able to succeed, and asking a team that's basically said, we're not upgrading this car. This is you doing your work experience for next year in this car. He just aggravated me. Even during qualifying, like he would just get in other people's way. No sense of there's other people in the world doing qualifying. It's if I can fuck someone else's qualifying / race / sprint race / practice testing, whatever, if I can fuck it up, I will, because my dad is a rich Russian gangster who makes money from selling AK-47s or whatever the fuck it is. So I could sit there and grope a girl and do this and do that. He has brought the sport to a new level of depravity. And I know that's a strong statement, but you combine it with his inability to drive a car, a Formula One car. He is rubbish at it. His inability to be a decent teammate. His inability to be an adult. And the fact that he's got it worse than Lance Stroll, because he sits there and kicks back and goes, I'm secure here because Daddy pays the bills. He is an absolute disgrace and should not be in Formula One. And he disappointed me the most because he's brought this sport to a new level of depravity and shitness because of his antics. And if he got the boot from Formula One by the FIA, I honestly would buy a platter from Coles and chuck a fucking party.
Oof.
That and his crap on the track. Longhorn.
Ooh, is it hot in here?
I should have just said $2.99.
You wanted a parting shot at him, hey? You wanted one more in before Christmas.
My number 2 is Seb Vettel. Again, machinery wasn't up to it. Other than his 2 races where he did outperform the car like he should as a 4-time world champion, he was pretty poor, I thought.
Yep.
Towards the end of the year, he was struggling to get into Q2. He was just, I don't know, didn't look like a 4-time world champion. He looked, washed up. It just wasn't there.
Yeah, he
And
suddenly looked old, didn't he?
yeah, very quickly. At the start of the year, he wasn't too bad, and he got the podium at Baku. And I'm thinking, oh, that's a guy out driving the car like I said, Vettel. He should still be here. And towards the end of the year, I'm like, maybe he's done.
He reminded me of 2014 Sebastian Vettel in the Red Bull, where the machinery wasn't there and he was just like, this is shit. It's not my fault. And he wasn't trying to outdrive the car because he didn't feel he had the car underneath him to outdrive.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
I honestly thought at the end of this season he was going to announce a retirement.
I think he wants to give it one more year with this team. I think he might retire at the end of next year if it's not up to
snuff.
Unless they mutually agree to part
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah, I think
But-
that's the case too.
Yeah. So yeah, it's my number 2.
JB?
Number 2, Daniel Ricciardo. You know, I don't know what it takes to alter your driving style to a new car, but he needed to find it. And he had his chance. It seemed like, you know, as Brody said, it seemed like he did find it for those 2 or 3 races there. You know, his win in Monza, you know, Spa, he looked alright. Sochi, he finished 5th. But it went away again at the end of the year. Once again, he was being outdriven by Lando. It seems like at certain tracks he was alright, as I've said a few times. The tracks that suit the car is where Daniel shines, but as soon as the car doesn't like the track at all, Daniel drives like shit. Lando gets the best out of it that he can. You know, he was constantly outdone by Lando all year, constantly.
Yep.
And as someone who's experienced, someone who wants to be challenging for a world title, someone that's being paid a lot of money to put the team in a position to be 3rd in the constructors, which was their goal, and Lando had to do all the heavy lifting.
Yep.
Monza aside,
I mean, with the machinery that McLaren had, they should have had 3rd in the
we should have
constructors.
wrapped it up. We shouldn't have lost it. Even with our fall off in performance, we should have. Both of them, Daniel especially, Lando as well. Maybe Lando was. I think Lando's was more bad luck than Daniel's, which is outright just lack of pace. A lot of those press conferences, those post-qualifying press conferences, was I couldn't find the speed, I couldn't find that extra tenth. And I don't know what more he needs, but he's got not long to find it.
No.
Because McLaren's bank account is not that deep, and neither is their patience. And neither is my patience. It's bad. I just put both my drivers on the shit list.
Well, JB, do you want to do your number 1 now?
Because it's already been said. Sebastian Vettel.
Yeah, Sebastian Vettel.
Yeah. Just absolutely fucking... you know, podiums aside, Baku and wherever the other one was, taken away from him, Hungary, I think, aside, 4-time world champion, getting punched around by every other car on the track. Where do we call him a human punching bag? Was it Qatar? He was just getting bits ripped, or Jeddah? It was one of the two.
Yeah.
Just getting bits ripped off the car by like mid-pack drivers, you know, not asserting his authority on anything, not being aggressive, not pulling off, you know. Him and Fernando were getting in fights, but Fernando was the far better driver this year overall than Sebastian, you know. I didn't see anything that resembled the former 4-time world champion. In much the same way I lambasted Kimi Raikkonen about seemingly not using his experience and getting into dumb mistakes and not giving a shit, is the same way I can lambast Sebastian Vettel for the most part. It might have been his machinery, but he looked like a shell of himself by the end, and he's not happy. He's clearly not happy.
He drove the car like it was made out of tissue paper.
It was, I mean...
Oh, no, it's carbon fibre.
he was getting a lot of the parts ripped off his car because he was non-committal, or...
It wasn't aggressive, like you said.
Yeah, he
Not the
just
Seb
seemed really
Vettel-
non-committal.
Not the Seb Vettel that went for it those years at Red Bull, where
Exactly.
he won it, where
Well,
he
even
was.
the Seb Vettel we got at the start of his tenure in Ferrari.
Yeah, the one that led the World Championship in 2018 for God knows how long.
Yeah, until got to Germany.
Germany, yeah. Yeah.
Longhorn?
My number 1.
Mhm.
My number 1, again, can't really let you down when you have no expectation, but I just wanted to put him here so I can have one last go at him as well before Christmas. I just want a quick little rant about Nikita
Here
Mazepin.
we go.
Oh my god, the guy annoys me. And for the longest time, I wanted to try and give him some benefit of the doubt, despite all the bad shit he was doing, because everyone was piling on. I thought, I won't add to the pile. I'll give him some time. Then I listened to his Beyond the Grid podcast the other day, and the guy absolutely shit me to tears. He's on there in a shit bucket, becoming 21st out of 20 drivers on the grid. And Tom's asking him about trying to get some excitement out of him about being in Formula One and all the rest of it. And he's going on about, it feels like a job. Oh,
Fuck.
get the fuck out if you think it's a job, because you are not good enough to be there at all if it's a job. Oh my god, it annoyed me so much. I just was hoping to hear this kid say, oh yeah, you know, I want to be world champion one day. I want to be good. I want this. And he just went, it's not really fun for me. Fun for me is riding my dirt buggies with my friends in Moscow. I thought, well, fuck off back to Moscow and give your seat to someone who's got the talent and deserves to be in Formula One that wants to win a world champion. Like, my God, you entitled prick.
That's rich boy attitude.
Yeah, that proper rich boy attitude with
It's
no
like, It's
talent.
like my dad's forcing me to go to work.
Yeah, like, no one's forcing you to be here, mate. Like, piss off.
Fucking
Like,
go.
go back to Formula whatever outside of...
Go get a
what?
job at Macca's.
Yeah. Go ride buggies all day with your friends. And
Go drive those
Shoot
weird...
AK-47s.
Go wrestle a bear and shoot your AK.
Drive a Yugo.
Oh, it just really bored my piss, and now he's just... I'm just completely off him. He's got no more chances from me, and I just hope that he loses all the points on his license and he gets kicked out and just can't drive anymore. That would be gold.
I'm glad he was on your list.
Oh, gosh.
Maybe you should have gone $2.99. Well, after that explosive rant, it's hard to follow it up. But I'm pretty sure the rant I'm about to do is going to really...
Oh boy. Who's in the line?
My number one driver who most disappointed me with a bullet, and it's probably come from Nikita Mazepin's AK-47, is Lewis fucking Hamilton.
Oh dear.
You know, I can put up with the prick sitting there going about his Black Lives Matter and his end racism, and JB puts his microphone away. I can put up with that shit. I can put up with him and his antics and all the shit, like his super fine fitness personal assistant. I mean, she yeah. But
Unsung hero of
Focus.
Lewis Hamilton.
Focus.
trainer.
I'm trying to find the positives. And I mean, he's been a great driver this year.
He's on the top of your shit list. You don't find positives now.
Right. But Silverstone, his antics after he crashes out Max Verstappen and then goes on to win the race and then carries on to the crowd, like, you know, yes, all right, you won in front of your home crowd. Max Verstappen won in front of his home crowd. He didn't carry on like a fucking dick snap in front of his crowd. He didn't sit there and go, gee, I put Max Verstappen into a 50G spin into a wall at 200k an hour. Gee, I'm going to go have a fucking party. You know, Max Verstappen was in the hospital. You could have showed him some goddamn respect, you fucking loser. And then you have the gall to say that fucking Verstappen brake tested you at Jeddah when he was under orders to let you past. No. He was letting you past. What you were doing was being a fucking dickhead. You should have overtaken him and gotten on with it. And then, your wishy-washy bullshit when you lose the championship. You lost the championship fair and fucking square. And you've got the fucking gall to not show up to the gala so that you can let Max Verstappen have his moment as world fucking champion. And you can't even show up for that because you've got too much goddamn pride, or you're such a fucking egomaniac that you can't even sit there and go, here it is, Max, congratulations, mate. You expect every other driver to do the same thing for you, but you can't do it because you are a spineless yellow turd flying in the wind. And then you've got drivers like Nicholas Latifi who are getting death threats online, and you can't even take time out of your sad fucking life to get online and tell your stupid, moronic, ignorant fans to knock off their bullshit, leave Max Verstappen and Nicholas Latifi alone, and congratulate them. You have no class. You are not the champion that a Michael Schumacher, that an Ayrton Senna, a Prost, a Sebastian Vettel, a Jenson Button, Alonso, Mika Hakkinen, Kimi Räikkönen, Nico Rosberg, despite the fact that I think he is a yellow fucking turd, a Nigel Mansell, a Damon Hill, a Graham Hill, or any of the other 69 world champions besides you that Sebastian Vettel can list off the top of his head. You do not deserve to be called the GOAT. You do not deserve to be called anything approaching a world champion of the class of anyone else that has won that title, purely because of your bullshit antics. I would rather have the Lewis Hamilton of 2007-2008, who was humble, hungry, and a decent human being, as opposed to the douchebag now who's such a prima donna dickhead. That's why you're number one on my list, because your talent is overshadowed by your ego, your douchery, and your just inane amount of stupid logic. You're a sore loser. You're a fucking egomaniac, and I hate your guts because you suck as a human being. I hope someday you find some class.
$2.99.
$2.99.
Holy fuck. What was that? Whew.
Wow.
That escalated quickly.
I really shouldn't have brought up Nikita Mazepin, should I?
Holy shit. Rant of the year is done. We've had some fucking blow-ups, but holy shit. Holy fuck. Alright.
Right, so the next thing. These are not going to be in any order. 4 races this season that you thought were great.
Do you just want me to name all 4?
Yeah, just name all 4.
Alright. Bahrain Grand Prix, the Imola Grand Prix, the Hungarian Grand Prix, and number 1 was Monza, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, Jeddah. Enjoyed Jeddah. Baku.
Yeah, Baku was unexpected.
Hungary. And also for me, Monza.
Yes. Monza was a good day.
My 4 were Jeddah, Monza, Abu Dhabi.
The end of Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The race itself wasn't that great, but the end of it was.
The last 10 laps
I
of Abu
thought
Dhabi.
it was, in terms of race, it wasn't fantastic, but the drama with it all the way through the race, it had like a Hollywood sort of tension to it.
Yeah, it was tense.
Yeah.
The whole... you were just waiting for something.
And Imola.
Yeah. I mean,
But, I mean, for a highly commended, I would certainly put Hungary.
yeah. I mean, Bahrain was, for me, was the beginning. You know, that was Max and Lewis wheel to wheel for the first time. Where Lewis, you know, he got the win after the whatever, hand the position back, ironically. You know, Imola, that was the first time Max Verstappen showed his hand, going into that first chicane in the wet and forcing Lewis across the ripple strip. Hungarian Grand Prix because the start was absolute fucking chaos.
Yeah.
And Esteban Ocon made me eat my words. And Monza because McLaren's first win since 2012 and a 1-2. So, yeah, they were easy picks for me.
All right. And then we get the 4 races that sucked, without including Spa. Spa is not allowed on the list because that's a non-event.
Spa was brilliant. 1 in the morning watching the was awesome.
3 hours later, still watching the rainfall.
Longhorn, you start.
Alrighty, 4 races I didn't enjoy. Barcelona,
Yeah, it's such a shit track.
France, Paul Ricard. Still the worst looking car park track I've ever seen. Brazil.
You didn't enjoy Brazil?
I didn't enjoy Brazil because I haven't heard anyone really talk about it. Like, again, I'm so new to the sport, but so Hamilton made up 25 places that race.
Yeah, technically.
It looked like he just had a whole different. It was just unreal, and I just took the fun out of the whole race for me. It was like, oh, it's like he had a cheat code on. You know, he had Big
Well,
Daddy
he
from
had a-
Age of Empires 2.
Yeah, he had a brand new fucking...
Had a
internal
convertible
combustion
with a
engine.
bazooka at the top, and he was just blasting past everyone to the top, and it was like, oh.
Jeez, he just made it sound like he was playing Twisted Metal.
Yeah, he's just like...
So I don't think it was the track I didn't enjoy. It was more just the dominance of Hamilton that weekend, which can be commended. Like, I don't want to take it away, but it kind of, for me, was just like, oh, just reminded me of all those years of Hamilton just dominating. Like, even taking a penalty that is meant to give you a disadvantage, he still just made it back to the top.
Yep.
So, and for Monaco, it's nice to look at, but it's
nice to look at, but
it's a long 78 laps of procedural racing.
Yeah, it is.
So my 4, Monaco, because it's 78 laps of procedural, but it looks great. It is a challenge to drive it.
That's the worst in the game.
The
It's so shit.
I can't master it, eh?
the one thing I
impossible.
do like about that track though is the names of the corners, like Saint Devote and
No heroics in the centre ball.
yeah, and you know, all the names are really cool. The next race I hated was Spain. I don't think that track should be. If it's going to be a testing track, it shouldn't be on the calendar. And it just feels like it's a procedural race because they know the track so well. Silverstone, didn't like that race. I don't really want to rant about Lewis Hamilton again. I think I might have slightly started to cook my voice, so $2.99. And the final one was Brazil.
You didn't like Brazil either.
I didn't like Brazil. I like Brazil when rain gets involved.
Yeah.
Because that's when you see, that's when it separates the wheat from the shaft. You know, that's when you see the guys who are the next Senna versus the guys who are the next Giovinazzi.
Yeah.
You know, and Brazil really was a nothing event. I would have also put Paul Ricard up there because that was kind of boring.
Yeah.
Because Paul Ricard is, or Texas, Coda.
Yeah, it was alright.
but
Coda wasn't
was-
interesting.
Yeah, Coda was
Coda
interesting.
this year was actually interesting.
I just think the track itself isn't interesting.
Yeah, I fucking hate driving it.
Yeah. But so yeah. Then we get to
Hey, wait. What about mine?
oh yeah, yours.
You jerk.
Oh. I was too angry.
It's the P&B podcast.
Oh yeah, didn't we tell you?
P&L.
New regs next year.
P&L, I'm out. It's the Longhorn in Lamington. JB signing off forever. Showing the door like fucking Daniel Kvyat.
He's carrying the corner after my explosive Hamilton raid. He's just sitting there going, "Don't hurt me, Phil."
It was fucking impressive. Number 4, because I love this track, and it's a shame the race was so shit. Portimao. Lewis Hamilton won by like 30 seconds, and Bottas was like third, and Verstappen was second, but for the most part, it was pretty fucking procedural. Number 3 was Silverstone. You know, you don't punt your championship rival off at 51G and fucking cruise to victory and feel okay about that.
I ranted about.
I know. Number 2 was Mexico. It was boring.
Look great though.
It looks great, but it was boring because by like 3 laps into the race, everyone was so spread out because of the thin air. You couldn't follow anyone. Nothing fucking happened. It was so boring to watch. And number one shouldn't be a fucking surprise. Sochi. The rain coming down with 3 laps to go. Lando Norris in the lead, and he slides off and breaks my fucking heart. I still can't watch that vision back without...
Would you like to have a rant about Lando Norris?
No, I don't need to land.
He's ranted about Mazepin. I exploded like a shower of bullets about Lewis Hamilton. You might as well let something off the chain.
No, I've chastised my boys enough.
It's controlled fury.
Yeah, I know that they can be better. They know they can be better, and they will be better. It's a steep, tough learning curve that Lando needed to learn. That maybe if it fucking walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. You know, water on the track usually means you need groove tyres, no matter how much or how little is on there. Just a real tough, heartbreaking moment to...
According to Neil Crompton, slicks have got tread.
Slicks have tread.
No, they don't.
They do.
According to Google, they do not. And I put that at the start of the episode.
Yeah, I know. I was messaged about that, actually. How you doing, Chris? Yeah, so... In pure terms of heartbreaking and a harsh lesson learned, especially coming off the back of a 1-2 in Monza, Sochi was pretty fucked.
As I start knocking things over on my table, because I just felt like holding the microphone. So that's the sort of the F1 season as a nutshell. The last thing I just want to sort of talk about is like this is our first season doing a podcast, and JB and I started off at the start of this year, and we were sort of fumbling our way through the ether.
Yeah.
And there was 4 episodes this year that I've really enjoyed, besides this one, because I've really enjoyed this episode. The last episode was one of my favourites. Actually, the 2 that we've had Longhorn on,
Yeah.
and as well as this one, have been, favourites.
Yeah, they're on my list.
The mid-season one, where we talked about our possible or potential ideas for teams rejoining. That was fun because it was something a bit different.
Yeah, I mean, that was research. That was homework for me.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it was alright.
It was something a bit different.
Yeah, well, the last 2 and this one are probably top of the list, but the Spa one. Our Spa one, we had nothing to talk about but rain.
And
So what did we do? We talked about everything else.
we managed to turn...
I think that was about an hour long as well.
Yeah, we managed to turn chicken shit into chicken salad.
I was really happy with that because we went in and we're just like, got nothing to fucking talk about. So we just talked about like wet races, and I think I did a video game review of the new F1 game, and
yeah,
we had like old mate Benny fucking put a message up, and he's like, talk about this. It was good. Like, I actually enjoyed for what we had to work with, which was fucking nothing. We
You did
we were
well.
good.
I went back and listened to it again the other day.
Yeah.
Um,
And I really liked our Imola chat as well.
yeah, that was good.
You know, my little piece about, how Ayrton Senna died at the same corner. Russell and fucking Bottas went in.
Yeah,
And we've got a Halo system now where it's almost, drivers can go in to that corner faster and harder than Ayrton was when he died.
yeah.
And they can get out and walk away like nothing happened. Just testament to the Formula One safety.
I think episodes like the Hungary episode as well. That was quite good. I'm trying to think of other episodes that.
It's been a long season,
Yeah.
man. It's been
Yeah.
a real long season. Actually, everything before fucking Monza's like real hazy.
I think Imola was pretty good as well.
Yeah, Emily was that was the first episode where I walked away and it was like, yeah, that was a good chat. And then I could listen, and I listened back to it, and it was probably our best at the time.
I'll quickly chime in. As you said, Phil, it's been you and JB this whole time until you picked me up under your wing these last couple, and I've enjoyed them.
It's like watching his son grow up. he's grown up over the last...
He was podcasting for us, though.
Oh.
Yeah, he was the one that sort of inspired me to start.
Yeah, I actually remember having a chat with you one night on the on the tins,
Yes.
and you were talk to me about it, and I probably gave you a pretty inspiring Braveheart kind of speech, and I think I probably, is the reason you started this whole podcast. So,
Well,
no,
I mean,
no.
yeah, it was a combination of, Brody was doing pods, and and me and you, we were having these sorts of conversations for hours, standing in your front yard after watching wrestling pay-per-views.
Yeah, we'd still be talking about it up until midnight.
Yeah, like the wrestling pay-per-view, everyone would be home by like 9:30.
Here we are,
Here
still
we
at
are
midnight in the front yard.
in the front yard, getting bitten by mozzies and fucking in the cold, just talking about Formula One, and they were like, "Fuck it, let's not do it in the front yard anymore because mozzies suck.
Yeah, let's do some
Let's-
editing and
let's- Get inside and get a microphone in front of us and see how it goes."
yeah,
And I'm so glad you guys did, because I've only just gotten to Formula One, and listening to you guys has just been unreal all year, and now that I get to do it with you guys, it's pretty awesome. And I'll just quickly chime in as a listener, my favourite podcast of the year, because I've listened to them all. I'm biggest fan. Yeah, obviously for me, favourites are Jeddah and Abu Dhabi, because I was on them, so pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, your mid-season special, I really enjoyed that, because as someone new to the sport, it was cool to hear you talk about, old liveries and bringing back old, teams and what drivers you'd pick. It was just really cool to see you guys' thoughts on that. So I really enjoyed that one.
That was hard work.
Yeah, I remember you saying that in the pod, actually. And then my other one I just put down here was Spa as well, because the same thing you guys had to sort of think more outside of the box than just responding to the Grand Prix. And you just created some really cool talk, considering all Spa was watching rain,
Yep.
So yeah, as a listener, they were my favourite. Just thought I'd quickly throw that in as a different view from you guys that were doing it to someone who was listening, and yeah, they were cool.
well, it's probably I haven't actually run this past JB yet, but so next year we're gonna slightly tweak the name of the show a little bit.
I think we're going to have to.
We're gonna just trim it down to the F1 chat.
Yeah.
Purely because I don't think it's fair that we keep calling it P&J's F1 chat if it's PJ and L.
Yeah. I think we
So-
should just call it the F1 chat.
So we're just going to call it the F1 chat.
That's what our messenger group's called anyway.
Yeah,
That's right. And hopefully Longhorn wants to
Yeah, hopefully this is a
become a
three-piece.
regular.
Yeah, hopefully this is a three-piece band.
no, I'm here to stay.
Yeah,
Sign me up.
Good, you're in.
And I mean, we still want to have like other people chime in as well.
Yeah, any other fans out there that in the Mackay area and beyond
Yeah,
want to come up,
Yeah.
get on.
more the merrier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got microphones. It just depends if my dog likes you. Yeah, she's a bit picky.
She's come around to me today, I feel. She was a bit off me the last couple of times, but
It's all right, we're coming around to you too, mate.
yeah.
But it's been a real interesting journey this year.
It's been something else.
Yeah.
It's something I never thought I'd do, or had the courage to do.
And like after these guys leave, like I sit there and actually mix the audio and try and get the levels right, and then sit there for hours putting photos up. With this one, I'm going to simplify it a bit though, and just with the news articles, put the photos, and then just put the F1 logo up for the rest of it. I think purely because I'm lazy. And, I used all my energy ranting about Lewis Hamilton. But we're going to take a bit of a break. I think testing is the end of February,
Yeah.
which we'll analyse the data of testing. And,
Oh, no, we get to do livery reveals too.
Oh, yeah?
And the new cars.
Oh, yeah.
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 I mean, we could combine that into one app. We'll just call it the pre-season. Like our
Yeah.
preview show was deliveries and testing like this
Yeah.
year. That was 2 hours long. I'll be damned. I'm pretty sure this is our longest episode of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, easy.
Easily.
Oh, yeah.
Like we
Deservedly
started
so.
this year with a 2-hour testing preview. I'm pretty sure we're at 2.5, maybe 3.
I'll tell you after we finish. But
It's been one hell of a chat, boys.
Oh, it's really awesome.
Well, I mean, it's the end of season 1, but people are not going to hear from us doing this for a couple of months, so
I
got to
bet
give
they're so
everyone value for
devastated.
their dollar.
Something for your Christmas, your Boxing Day hangovers. Put the cricket on, put it on mute, listen to us.
or as your mum says, it's something to fall asleep to.
It's good for a nap. It's good for a nap.
Sorry, it just reminded me of the log song from Ren and Stimpy. Log rolls downstairs, rolls over your pears, rolls over your neighbour's dog. If it fits on your back, it's good for a snack. It's long, long, long.
Nothing to do with Test cricket, but okay.
Well, wood's involved.
Yeah, well,
But no, it's been a really interesting and fun experiment this year, and we're not professionals by any stretch of the imagination, but
but we're better than Fox Motorsport.
we didn't even rant about them on this episode.
I don't need to. I'm tired. I don't have the energy.
Let's just leave it at $2.99.
$2.99. So, on behalf of myself, Longhorn, and JB, thank you for tuning in this year. Thank you for being a part of it. It's been fun this year, and we're looking forward to doing it even better next year. Hopefully, Nikita Mazepin and Lewis Hamilton will do it better next year as well. Had to get that one last shot in.
Because if they don't,
on behalf of myself and Longhorn and JB, we want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. This will probably drop on Christmas Day. A Happy New Year, and we will probably see you in February for testing, livery reveals, and whatever news stories break over the Christmas New Year break. But until then, thank you for tuning in. We will see you next year. Until then, goodbye.